Peace, peace. What's going on, family? It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. I'm gonna wait for some more people to get in. Tonight we're gonna have a good discussion. Hopefully, we're gonna see if we can get some people to come on and voice their opinions a little bit. Try to have a little open mic tonight. I'm not sure if my brothers are gonna come on tonight, so I'm gonna see how everything shakes out and how long we actually stay on. But for all of you who are coming in, hit the like button, share this out. Maybe there's some things that was said on the platform that you wasn't really feeling. Now is the time to you could get the link and you can come on and basically get it off your chest. Like let's come build with us. If you would like to donate to the platform, you can use the super chat in the chat, or you can cash app us at the cash app handle, be the power. So wait for some people to come in and really get this conversation going. See if some people going to jump on. I'm curious to see, as I get a lot of people that come at me from all walks of, I guess we could call it consciousness or politically consciousness, and they pretty much make claims like we don't know what we're talking about, and I want to put it to the test. I would really like that. I would like for someone to come on and show and prove. I've put the link in a group, a political group that leans more conservative / Trump Republican. I told them if they had anything that they wanted to say about reparations and why they feel that we as a people, meaning those of us called Black or African Americans in the United States, shouldn't get reparations, then come on through. Come on through. We already got a dislike. I don't know. I look forward to seeing like that, them couple of 1, 2, 3, 4 dislikes every time we go live. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Peace to the mod. I see you, brother Corey, in the building. Let me see. One of the things that I want to get into, though, is some of the news that's happening in the political sphere. Look, politics is a double-edged sword, and I said this. I said this a couple of weeks ago, right here on the platform, about how politics is a double-edged sword. Somebody they said they don't like when they hear the W. I can't help it. In New York, most of us, we pronounce the W. Double-edged sword, right? And either way you cut it, 9 times out of 10, we're going to be screwed, right? I spoke about handling politics as a double-edged sword without a handle. So you got to actually handle the blade, this double-edged sword. So on one end of this sword, it's hard to say it. I've been saying it one way my whole life. Sword, right? On one end is the Republican Party and all that it entails. The whole, somebody says sword in the chat. So, I'm gonna touch on that Metro customer. He said, didn't Biden enlist the woman from Color of Money? I'm gonna get on that as well. Let me see. Again, this is an open mic for all of you that are just joining. We want to see if we could get some people to come on. If you're watching from YouTube, come on over to from Facebook, come on over to the YouTube channel and get the link if you want to come on. On one end of the sword, we got the Republican Party, or I should say, we have the right wing in in American politics. And one of the things that we stress on this particular platform is that the right wing is it is the racist, fascist side of America. The brother brought up Mercer Baradaran, who I'm going to get into later. Metro customer said, didn't Biden enlist? I was actually listening to her book earlier, The Color of Money, which deals with black banks. And, you know, almost all of these books recount the atrocities that we went through in places like Tulsa, et cetera, et cetera. So we see that the right wing in America is set a certain type of way. Again, Malcolm called them the wolves. You know, you're not just gonna walk up to the wolf and pet the wolf. The wolf going to start chewing on you. Period. Right. And then you have the foxes. You could walk up on the fox. You could actually pet the fox. You could domesticate the fox. But after a while, the nature of the fox comes out, and its whole goal is to eat you. And that is the double-edged sword that is American politics. And so we as a people, we get kind of duped into a lot of the political back and forth. I don't even want to really call it a tug of war, because really there's only one side tugging at us. And we blindly and feebly let them pull us over to that side. You know, we let them pull us over to that side, and we get caught up in a perpetual cycle of nothingness. It is similar to the analogy of running around on a hamster's wheel, just running and running, and the thing is just spinning and spinning and spinning, and we're just not going anywhere. You know, shout out to the mods in the building. Shout out everybody that's just joining in. Again, I'm going to put the link in the chat in a little while. Have a little open mics. Anybody want to come on and have a little discussion for a little minute? We can do that. But I want to get into some of the things that I've seen in the news today, and I want to tie that back to a lot of what we've seen historically insofar as white supremacy is concerned. So let me pull this up. Let me pull this up right here. Let's pull this up. All right, as you can see, it says Biden hopes to avoid divisive Trump investigations, prefer unity. Biden has told aides that he's concerned that investigations would divide the country, but that he would leave decisions up to an independent Justice Department. It's interesting. It's interesting. Where do we hear that? Where do we hear that rhetoric from before? Everybody, I just want you to think. Our people went and voted for this man under the guise that justice was going to come to a people that justice has hardly ever come for at the hands of white supremacy. Obviously, our people don't seem to understand how white supremacy works. Says President-elect Joe Biden has privately told advisors that he doesn't want his presidency to be consumed by investigations of his predecessor, according to 5 people familiar with the discussions, despite pressure from some Democrats who want inquiries into President Donald Trump, his policies, and members of his administration. Biden has raised concerns that investigations would further divide a country he is trying to unite and risk making every day of his presidency about Trump, said the sources, who spoke on background to offer details of private conversation. We gotta laugh at this, family. We have to laugh at this. We have to laugh at this, because when you understand the pattern of white supremacy, and you understand it from its fundamental root, its rudimentary foundations here in the United States of America, then you get to understand why a move like this isn't gonna happen. People went and celebrated because they thought that, yeah, Biden is gonna set things right. Let me go back and read what this man said. Biden has raised concerns that investigations would further divide a country he is trying to unite. You think, people, you think that Biden is going to unite the, what was it, 71 million people that turned out for Trump, that turned a blind eye to all of the criminal things he did while he was president, how he flouted the rule of law, took the Constitution of the United States of America and wiped his pale backside with. You think you're going to unite those people? Of course, Biden doesn't believe that. This is something that they put out there to try to cover what I call and what I believe to be a continuation of white supremacy. You see, with white supremacy, there can be no accountability within the power structure. There can be no accountability within the power structure. I thank everybody for the donations. I don't have nobody on with me, so I can't really pay attention to the chat. Thank you for your contributions to the channel. But when you have a white supremacist structure, there cannot be accountability at the top. There just can't be, because with accountability, then, well, justice has to creep in. And this whole thing wasn't predicated upon justice. It was predicated upon moving white supremacy and keeping it as the dominant force in this nation. And when I say moving, I mean keeping the cogs of that machine rolling. And we have to see it for what it is. We have to see it for what it is. Somebody says we should not get distracted by Trump. People voted out Trump and not Biden in. All right, that's a fair comment. But let's get into some history. Let's get into some history. Let's get into some history. Let's go back. Because as soon as I seen this story, this is what popped in my head from 8 years ago. Aid. Obama won't prosecute Bush officials. President Barack Obama does not intend to prosecute Bush administration officials who devised the policies that led to the harsh interrogation of suspected terrorists, White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel said Sunday. President Bush was a war criminal. His handling of Katrina was worthy of impeachment alone. This man was a war criminal. That administration, that whole administration should have been locked up. Again, white supremacy, one of its core features is that there can be no accountability for the atrocities. This is why whole cities burned down back in the days, cities that we built, and there was no accountability. There were no people brought to justice. Okay, let's go to another one. The pardon of Richard Nixon, right? Are y'all seeing the pattern? Y'all seeing the pattern, right? The pardon of Richard Nixon, formerly known as Proclamation 4311, was a presidential pardon issued by President of the United States, Gerald Ford, on September 8, 1974. By it, Ford granted to Richard Nixon, his predecessor, a full and unconditional pardon for any crimes that he might have committed against the United States as president. Do y'all not see? Do y'all not see the pattern? Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. The pardon of Jefferson Davis and the 14th Amendment. Well, those that know the history, and I always big up Noble Drew Ali for putting me onto this particular history, because he taught that And it was true that the 14th Amendment brought the South back in unit with the North, because the South had no constitutional power at the time because they seceded. They had to agree to the 14th and 15th Amendments, particularly the 14th Amendment, in order to get back into the Union. So let's read. Let me blow this up a little bit. Y'all can follow. It says, on this day in 1978, President Jimmy Carter officially restored the full citizen rights of former Confederate President Jefferson Davis, signing an act from Congress that ended a century-long dispute. Davis is most remembered today as one of the leaders of the Confederacy, along with General Robert E. Lee. In 1976, Lee's citizenship was restored by Congress. Also, about a century after Lee's death, after the Civil War, the restoration of Davis's citizenship soon followed. In posthumously restoring the full rights of citizenship to Jefferson Davis, the Congress officially completes the long process of reconciliation that has reunited our people following the tragic conflict between the states. Like, I just gave examples, and I want to pull these back up. I got my brother Ali Bey in. Let's go back to Biden, because it says Biden has told aides that he's not concerned with investigating Donald Trump, because he wants to unify the nation, something that's never going to happen. Never. One of them Trump supporters will walk right up to this man and put a bullet in his head and say he did it because they stole the election from Donald Trump. He's never going to do that. This is what we call white supremacy movement. Okay, again, remember Obama, aides won't prosecute Bush. The pardon of President Nixon, the posthumous pardon, after death pardon of Jefferson Davis. This is what I mean when I say white supremacy has a structure that at the top of it, there is no accountability. It is part of the core of how they have ruled, whether you start from Christianity, with them tearing up everything in their Bibles, particularly in the New Testament, to the Constitution and tearing it up for the purposes of maintaining a particular status quo where they are the majority. This is what we are witnessing with the statement that Biden has made. So I want to welcome my brother Ali Bey into the building. Did you want to add anything to that, brother?
No, I just read that piece earlier today where Biden was talking about, he was more interested in unifying the country than trying to prosecute Trump or anything like that. So I don't know, man. I agree with you. I don't think the country's ever going to be unified. It's never been unified. So to even think that it can be is, to me, a little bit. It's not a little bit naive. It's naive, period. You know what I mean? It's a naive idea. But again, I mean, for the Democrats, what it is, and I'm sure you touched on this before I got on, what it is for them is, you have racists in the Democratic Party. And, for them, they have to play to the sensibilities of those particular racists to try to keep them in line with the party in order to keep them from running to the Republican side. So I believe that's a part of what we're looking at is that, and probably the fear of a possible civil war. Because I mean, there was a brother who was down in a brother that I know who went down to that Million MAGA thing down in DC. The brother Deshaun Farad, and he kind of covered that event. And there was a turn-up point at the hotel that he was at between some of the Trump supporters and I think it was what's the group they always talk about?
The Proud Boys.
Now, not the Proud Boys, the ones they say are terrorists, Antifa.
Oh, okay.
Antifa was supposedly some kind of turn up between the Antifa group and the Trump supporters, and it got real crazy to the point where the cops had to intervene and keep things from going real left. And so I believe that the country, you are looking at a powder keg, as Malcolm would have said. It is a powder keg, and I think that Biden, along with other people, are sensitive to that and probably concerned about not turning it into something that it could very well go into. But that's about it, though. You know.
Definitely. Okay, so I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Family, if y'all want to jump on, y'all got some. Like I said, you want to maybe add to the discussion, share some of your opinions and your thoughts. Maybe want to spark up a debate about something you've heard on Be the Power. You feel that you could come dance with the team, and maybe you got some gripes. Maybe you don't like the way we do our platform. Come through, come holler at us. I just put the link in the chat. Be clear on your intentions though when you come in, so that we don't just be all over the place. I want to know exactly what you want to speak about. FF80OS says, can we do this once a month? Sure. I would love to do that. Just open it up, bring people on, and see where where we differ at, or if y'all just want to add on, etc., etc. I'm gonna put that link in the chat again. But I want to go back and until someone jumps on and basically discuss some of what I was talking about, and why we need to be grounded in a congressional push for 2022 and beyond, not just 2022. It's just that 2022 is up and coming, is right there. It's 2 years away. And if you go back and you look at Abraham Lincoln, which I forgot to pull up, Abraham Lincoln came up with the plan for amnesty and leniency for the Confederates. He basically took it easy on them. Then they assassinated him, and Andrew Johnson came behind him, and they basically pardoned everybody. Some people faced some low light penalties, but they basically pardoned everybody. The Congress, however, the radical Republicans, and that's when the Republicans was the left wing of the party, so no one gets it confused. Some people intentionally confuse party, or I don't even want to say confuse, neglect the party realignment that happened in the 1960s. But we seen that then. And it was the radical Republicans in Congress that was saying, nah, we got to punish these dudes. They're traitors. They're traitors to the United States of America. So when I see this article by Biden,
yeah,
I see it as they're trying to undercut people like the Justice Democrats, right? Because the Justice Democrats are people who will come in and they're going to try to live up to their namesake. They want to bring these people to justice. They feel that democracy should go by the letter of the law. All right, so we got somebody in the back channel. Mike, for real, I'm gonna add you onto the stream. Peace. What's going on, brother?
Peace, brother.
Well, welcome to Be the Power. Is there anything that you wanted to speak to? Get off your chest. Let us know, why you're coming on.
The topic about whether or not Biden should prosecute Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the political atmosphere is really hot right now. So SDNY already got a case on Trump, so you don't really got to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And according to SDNY, Trump is not supposed to be getting a pardon if they decide to press criminal charges on Trump, on tax evasion and the other things they got on him. So if I was Biden, I would just not get involved. I would not pardon him or anything, because in America, they want to set precedent that anyone coming out of the White House is not supposed to face any criminal charges because they could be used as a political tool against the other party. But Trump is too deep involved in tax evasions in New York. So just let them handle that and stay out of it. It should not affect him as a president.
I just wanted to point out the fact that, you know, there's a pattern, right? And if what happens if SDNY comes after Trump? Because that is being floated that they are not going to let up. When they held the press conference about Michael Cohen, they were somebody said, "Can we rap?" Yeah, come spit some bars. Definitely, I might spit some bars too. Come spit some bars. But you know that prosecutor, that head prosecutor, I believe that's the same one that Trump forced out. He sent a cryptic message during that press conference, like, Trump, we coming for you. That's why we going after Michael Cohen so hard. He said something to the effect of like, we're gonna make sure he's prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You know, so yeah, you might be right. But now what happens if Biden says, we can't do that to a sitting president, we're gonna pardon him? Then it goes back.
That's gonna be political suicide. That's not gonna be a good move. That's gonna mess with the Democratic Party right there.
You might be right about that.
Because when Trump was talking about law and order, and he was talking about lockup, Hillary lockup, Biden, Obama, he was talking about locking anybody up. So this is in line with law and order. So this is karma. You want law and order? Well, you're gonna get it from New York. You know what I'm saying? I mean, New York has gone after the biggest drug dealers. They have gone after biggest gang members.
They took 6ix9ine and 9 Trey and them down.
So
that same SDNY.
New York don't play. That's what I can say. Trump is he ain't gonna be able to escape New
York. Okay, definitely. No, I feel you on that. I mean, did you have anything else you wanted to share or build on?
I believe that when it comes to the message of ADOS, to me that's such a good message right now. Like, for instance, I was born in Panama, and I'm for ADOS. You know what I mean? Because that's the way we could actually find out who is for us for the communities in our Black cities. You know what I'm saying? Anybody coming up right now as a Democrat, if they're not talking about ADOS, they should not be elected. And to me, that's the measuring stick. Because right now, the Democratic Party is divided among people that's going to be nice with the Republicans and people that's like, forget the Republicans, let's go all the way progressive. So the Republicans are saying, well, that's socialism, which is progressive is actually a capitalistic way to move the country forward. But the GOP is talking about, well, we don't want to do it and upset our money. All that dark money they're getting from corporations, that from the oil companies and gas companies. I don't understand how they don't want to go green, which is just green energy, which is another way of supporting a different kind of capitalist structure, just because they're getting so much money from the oil companies.
All right, let's get back to that. I want to touch on the comment that we have on the screen by William Maybon that said that's not going to be political suicide. Remember Nixon. What do you say to that?
Well, the reason why is because when you look back at Biden talking about the crime bill back in 1994, he was so headstrong talking about the crime bill. So people gonna be like, wait a second, you had no issue putting this strict crime bill, 3 strikes and you're out, that affect the minorities and brown people, but now you're gonna let up when it comes to rich white folks. it's not going to sit well with a lot of people. So you talking about one term, because I know I'll be turned off if he decides to pardon Trump, because then I'm going to be like, wait, then you need to pardon a whole lot of people that's in jail right now just for not paying their bail. You know what I'm saying? So if there's no balance in that, oh, you gonna let Trump go? How about all those people that was just using drugs, not selling it, but just using it, that's behind bars? You got to go ahead and let all of them go, because we know there's a difference between a drug dealer that's selling millions of dollars to the communities and a person that's taking the drugs because he has mental issues, and they ain't there right now. Yes, I do believe it's going to be political suicide, because he was text on law and order and the crime bill, and then he's going to let Trump go. That was
somebody said you're underestimating white supremacy.
Oh nah, I'm listen. White supremacy is what it is. I'm still trying to figure out why the parties are having this fight when they both white supremacists. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I feel you. All right, look, we got somebody. All right, you can stay on, bro. We got somebody else on. Brother Zell, welcome to the Be the Power platform.
What's going on, family? How y'all doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Peace.
You know, what you wanna speak about, bro?
I ain't really had no issues. I want to talk about white supremacy. I feel like we gotta be more specific when we talk about that. So, I think when we talk about white supremacy, we gotta look at the whole spectrum of. We gotta think about its root, where it's coming from. You know, we think about America and its roots, and where they learn to do what they do, where they learn this high society that we're the better race. We have to conduct ourselves this way. They learned that from Europe. They learned that from all their big cousins and friends over there in the UK and France, Germany, Belgium. That's where they got that from, and they still have those connections today. And I don't think we look at a lot of the global spectrum of interests. Who has similar interests? Who's funding who? Who's actually conducting this white supremacy we like to throw out? Because I know it's not the white guy over there with the Confederate flag on his truck around the corner. You know what I mean? That's not white supremacy to me. To me, white supremacy is the corporations, big tech, the bankers, the men with the money. Why don't we don't talk about them enough? I feel like we're talking about lower level people that really don't have influence, really don't have the resources to oppress. I got to correct a lot of my friends that I talk to when they're so quick, to hop on Facebook or Twitter and argue with these certain different white guys or Republicans, GOP, Trump supporters, whatever you want to call them. They're the same type of people on the Democrat side as well, on the left. So when we talk about these people, we gotta realize, like, that guy down the street that may call me the N-word or whatever. He may not like me. He doesn't understand me. I know that for much. We may not have had a conversation where he can't understand me, but I know he doesn't. But to me, that's not white supremacy because he don't like me. I don't care if you don't like me. It's black folks that don't like me.
So I'm confused. I gotta jump in, bro, because while you might not feel that that's white supremacy, he can take it upon himself to try and violate you, and then the cops come because you're defending yourself, and then arrest you, and then that's white supremacy. You see what I'm saying?
That's a form of white supremacy. If it goes, so we got to put that in context. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think the best way to contextualize it is by understanding that there's levels to it. Yeah, and those levels are all inextricably woven together, from the people at the bottom rung all the way to the people at the at the top of the, I guess we could say, corporate or governmental ladder. So I had to put a little bit of pushback.
I hear what you're saying, brother. Like this brother was speaking about Biden, because to me, I'm like, everybody calls Trump the white supremacist. When I know, if you do your research, both of them have some shady, nefarious backgrounds with white supremacists, especially Biden. being mentored by one by a KKK member. And he's also aligned with a lot of lobbyists and big tech guys. That's who he's aligning his cabinet with and his transition team. And the Democrats fool black folks once again to vote for him. And I see Black Lives Matter, getting on podiums asking for reparations after the fact. That's not going to get us nowhere today. And I doubt they make hold to any of those promises come January if he's inaugurated. It's a lot of stuff still going on. So technically the election's not over. So we don't know what's going to happen come January.
I mean,
can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, brother Mike.
All right. Now, when I voted for Biden, right, it was a vote against Trump. Trump type of white supremacy is not the type of white supremacy we need. The type of white supremacy that I like is the one that tells you, not to your face, that I'm gonna have some white boys waiting to, to go out into your neighborhoods if I don't get my way.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. The type I was about to sip my tea.
Remember when they asked Trump? Remember when they asked Trump, to condemn white supremacists like the Proud Boys, and he couldn't do it?
Hold on.
I don't like that type of white supremacy.
Hold on.
That's what I'm saying.
You like it?
I don't like it.
All right. So if you're saying, I'm sorry, wait, hold on there. If you're saying you don't like that type of white supremacy, that means that there's a type of white supremacy that you do like.
He like being
meaning that, okay, the reason why I said that is because white supremacy is so much part of America, you just can't root it out. You see what I'm saying? We got to look at white supremacy is where white folks own the majority of the power. Even if they try to relinquish that power, how are they going to relinquish that power if they're not going to turn America into a socialist country where they're going to share the wealth that they built on our backs? That's why ADOS is a good way to kind of start. It's not going to fix everything, but it's just to start where it's like, okay, you build your power through the backs of slaves. We need some of that 40 acres and the 2 mules back. We need you to pay back for your sins. But they're going to own the banks. They're going to own the majority of the power in the government. All we could do is elect people that's talking our message and try to get reforms done that's going to help Black wealth. But we're never going to catch up to white supremacists all the way because it's just too far in America.
I hear you. I'm gonna let the brother Zell respond to that. I just, when you say you don't like one form of white supremacy, it implies that you like another form of it, and that I don't know if that should be a part of. I can't tell nobody how to speak.
You know what? I agree.
I don't know, man.
That was not the best way to say it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, from that message, because for a minute I'm like, man, he don't like this kind of white supremacy. He like this. To me, it was like, do he like being backdoored? Do you like the homies that's your friend in person and they come take your money when you ain't at home, or they come shoot you from behind? Is that what you like? That's what I'm like, whoa. But no, to your point, brother, I think we have to really, like I said, understand who we're directing our anger at sometime. I think a lot of the time, a lot of Black folks were directing our anger at the wrong people. And I think when we're doing that, it's making us hard for us, even as individuals, not a monolith, but it's hard for us to even align ourselves with a Black leader that does have a good message. Maybe everybody don't agree with them, but we got to stop trying to demonize people that actually have good plans for us and be upset that they're not focused on this agenda or this point as much as you are. You know what I mean? We gotta really start to align with interests. I know we're not gonna all agree on everything, but we gotta at least get some stable, at least 5 points that we can all agree on as a community, and that we like this has to be done immediately. And I think reparations is number one at the top. We can't really start getting programs going. We can't really get people motivated to do anything without putting some money in their pockets. And then people talk to me about when I mentioned reparations, they said, well, you want a handout. And I say, well, yeah, a lot of my views may be conservative. I feel like I'm like center. I'm independent, but a lot of my views are like right center. I live in Texas. You know, I like the Second Amendment, but I feel like when they talk about handouts, I'm like, to me, it's not a handout. It's just getting what's owed. We're getting a debt paid that's owed. And when you look at that point, that's really all it is and what it comes down to. So anybody that says it's a handout, no, it's me coming to collect.
Facts. All right, we got some
it's
more
a stimulus package for me.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, basically. All right, we want to bring Sister Brianna in. Introduce yourself, sister, and let the family know what you want to speak about.
Hey, this is Brianna, FF80 now in the chat. I just wanted to come and just kind of join the conversation. I don't really have anything to start with to say, but I will say real quick, for me, I don't like any form of white supremacy, but I do prefer my white supremacy to be more in the form of a Trump, where it's more in your face, aggressive, and not hidden behind like a Biden, to where people can deny it and act like it's not there.
Malcolm referred to them basically as the fox and the what was the other one? The fox
wolf
and the wolf. Yeah.
But we already know white supremacy is here, so whether they hide it or it's in your face, all I'm saying is that when they don't hide it and it's in your face, we get the Pride Boards. That's what I'm saying.
All right, hold on. Hold on, real quick. Let me, brother Talk Builds. He got a Moorish brother. He says reparations. Where is your flag, family? Better. I guess he meant to say go for restitution instead. Reparations is restitution, but you could get the link that's in the chat. I'm gonna put it in there again, and you could come on and give your measure.
Build on that idea.
All right, let's bring. So we have somebody else, NorCal GA. I was kind of hoping people would not be afraid to get on camera, but you never know what's going on. Somebody might just be in their bedroom chilling. It is what it is. NorCal Georgia, you're on. What do you want to add to the conversation? You want to. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, man. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm butt naked in the bathtub. That's why I can't be on the camera. No, I'm driving. That's all. Hey, man, I want to commend you guys for all the work that you guys have been doing. That's first of all, man. I want to commend you guys, man. You guys keep this struggle strong and everything. And I heard some today from a Professor Wolf. He said remember when Reagan laid off or fired all those aircraft controllers back in the 80s? Remember he fired all those aircraft controllers, replacing with government workers and stuff like that? Remember that?
I'm not familiar with that. Give us a little bit of background.
Right when he came in, Reagan, the air traffic controller union was trying to strike for better pay or whatnot, better benefits, and Reagan just fired them all and everything. He said the reason why that happened because the air traffic controller union and the Democratic Party dropped the ball on keeping the strength within the left movement. You know what I'm saying? As long as you have a strong knowledge-based left movement, Reagan wouldn't be able to do that anymore. He was able to fire all those air traffic controllers and get away with it and just carry on with his business and crime bill and all that stuff. That happened because the Democratic Party dropped the ball as far as training the up and coming generation and maintaining maintaining everything they already had before he came into office and everything. That's what you guys do. You guys are maintaining the strength of our black movement. But all right, I want to get into the question I got. Yeah, you opened my eyes as far. I didn't know that Jimmy Carter had something to do with pardoning some of the criminals and everything within our government.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to know what is the thinking behind that. Why have all presidents pardon or felt no need to prosecute people who held office that actually bought crimes. What would that entail if they did? If they did send Trump to jail and give him so many years, send all these people to jail, what would that mean for the next Democratic Party or the next president or the next person that maintains power? Can you expound upon that or explain why there hasn't been any prosecuted? It's got to be deeper than that. It's got to be deeper than just that they don't want to. I don't know if they want to maintain the psyche of the ruling caste can never be questioned or never be brought to justice. It's got to be a reason why they do that. I haven't been able to figure that out. Please expand upon that. I'm gonna get off, man.
All right. The only thing I can say is that I can just give you my opinion, and I've already said it in earlier when I was reading all of this stuff, that I believe that white supremacy is, and at its core, it is a structure designed so that there is no accountability ever brought for any of its heinous crimes, which is why Lincoln put together the amnesty and leniency plan, although the radical Republicans in the Congress were saying, no, we're not. We want to prosecute all of these people. We want them all to go to jail. No leniency for nobody. No amnesty for anybody. So my opinion, and that's all that I can give, because there's no scholarly anything on it, is that they have to maintain the status quo of white supremacy. So when we see Biden say that he's not going to go after Trump, and then I went back and I showed Obama said that. I showed the pardon of Nixon, right? I showed the pardon of Jefferson Davis almost 100 years after the fact, et cetera, et cetera. To me, it represents a pattern that says that we are the dominant society, and our society is based upon a particular narrative spun out of this notion that we are, in fact, white people. And
That's right.
Because we hold on to this notion that we are white people, we believe ourselves to be the most superior dominant race on this planet, and we have a government that helps us crystallize that particular idea and those ideals. So that's my 2 cents on it anyway.
Let me jump in on that particular note.
Brother Logic in the building. BTP.
Yeah, peace. So, peace, family. Peace to all the visitors and whatnot. All the guests. Thank you for coming on and whatnot. So, for that particular piece right there, we got to understand, right? Sometimes we can't see everything from our vantage point because our vantage point is so saturated with oppression and all the things that we have to fight against.
You breaking up.
Yeah, I thought it was.
So when you
Brother Logic,
see things like people getting. Oh, let's see. Is it any better now?
Yeah, right there is better.
All right. So the system of white supremacy, like Naheem was explaining, is not only a system based in race, it's twofold. We are so dominated by the racism. We don't understand that white folks within their own groups have a class warfare, right? We do understand that, but sometimes we forget about it. So it's about power when it's always about power. But for us, we are so locked down with the racism, right? So when we see things like the presidents refuse to go after each other, even though we know there has been obscene criminal activity taking place, right? They have a unspoken agreement to do business this way with each other. You know what I'm saying? That's how when you get that high up, like understand who Biden is, right? And just understand with the 47-year history he has in politics and being up at the highest level, just understand how much crime he's committed. You understand? So it's like honor among thieves in a sense. So we like, he doesn't really look at him in the moral sense as you're a criminal, because they're all criminals and it's a criminal operation. You understand? So when their criminals are operating together, it's a sharing of power at the top. So what they're doing is just saying, you know what, I beat you this time. So, you know how we play the game, and nobody's going to jail. We are the people who control the power. So it's not just about money. Money is a tool, but it's also about power and the families that control power, right? We see this one individual and we look at their station that they operate out of, and that's what we see. But it's a whole lineage of power that has been transferred. These families have been doing business with each other since time immemorial. You understand? So when they have already understood, they've been taught from babies how to play this game, and they know that that's just something we don't do at this level. And when you do see them actually go after each other in a way, they're setting examples for people who have done certain things, that have broken rules that they've set in their own private dealings. So like those consequences are for other things. It's not really for committing any type of crime. It's for breaking unspoken rules that they've made under the table, in the closet, in the shadows, and dealing with that. It's an unseen thing that they do. So we look at, like, we're talking about the people that make the rules. So they don't send each other to jail for breaking rules, because they don't make the rules for themselves. They make the rules for the people who don't have the power. You understand? It's a system of control. Racism is used to control us, and classism is used to control the poor people. So basically, that was the reason why you see, the criminal activity being, tolerated, so to speak, because understand that it's all a criminal operation and it's a criminal enterprise anyway. And every day is just another crime in progress.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
You just broke down everything I wanted to say. Basically, when I was expounding on the European banking, and the European dynasty, where they get it from, is the lineage. That's what they were taught, and it's second nature to them. It's more, to me, it's more arrogance than it is deliberate racism. It's in there. It's engraved in them. They think this is normal. This is how they conduct business, and a lot of us we can't put ourselves in those shoes to understand why they would make the decisions they would make. We're talking about people that would bomb a country of children like that with no problem, and go and eat dinner still and have no problems with it. So it's like, we got to really understand the people we're dealing with. And I'm glad Brother Logic was able to break that down, because he said everything I wanted to say, but he articulated it amazingly.
We got another brother that's joining the stream, the General ADOS Street, the General 04 ADOS Street. Peace. What's going on, brother?
What's up?
What's good? What's good? What topic you wanted to bring up? Or is there something that you heard that you want to touch on?
No, when I first came in,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, bro.
I just wanted to talk about white supremacy. Logic said most of the stuff that I was gonna say, but one piece about that on the white supremacy part is that they go into different type of schools. They don't go to schools like we do. They go to boarding schools where they learn and they treat each other a certain way, and they had a code of conduct from there. So most of them, they already are related. They know each other family, so ain't nobody going to jail. It's a game to us.
Indeed, indeed. Anybody wanted to speak to anything else? Let's get our sister back in here real quick. Sister FF80OS, aka Brianna. Was there anything you wanted to add? I think she froze.
All right. You got to
I think she's freezing in and out. Yeah, she's having some technical difficulties. Anybody else wanted to touch on anything?
All right,
Yeah.
let me come back in with this. Right, I like what that one brother that just came in. What he said about the boarding schools and going to school again. It raised another interesting point, since I guess what we're talking about at this particular moment is white supremacy. Understand, white supremacy isn't just a talking point that we understand as this racial oppression. White supremacy is way more intricate and more detailed than what we commonly talk about, how we casually speak about it. You understand? White supremacy is a religion, it's a culture, it's a power system. White supremacy dominates everything on the planet, and I don't like it, but it's an actual fact. It's the most powerful system in existence, and the proof of that is you can't name any other system that can stop it, check it, and there has been no system since white supremacy has been dominating that has stopped it, checked it, destroyed it, or anything of the like. You understand? So that's something that we have to accept and understand, that it's the number one religion, it's the number one system, it's the number one culture, and it infects other groups. You understand? It infects other groups in the way that they see power, the way they understand power, and the way they understand even their own culture. So it has infected and saturated every facet of understanding life: education, sex, warfare, money, politics, economics, everything, right? So we have to really look at that and then say that a system like that is benefiting a certain group. But all white folks, right, have the ability to access whiteness, but all of them don't have the ability to access the supremacy part. So what we're talking about today is the supremacy part. The supremacy is the people who not just like can access whiteness, but they are the ones exercising the power. Some of them have white privilege, be a happenstance of just being born into the group that's running things, but they don't actually have the bloodline that's in power, that has the supremacy part, right? The supremacy part is the controlling arm of the system of white power, right? So we have to think like that. We have to study people like the great Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. to really get an understanding on white supremacy. We have to understand the teachings of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And I mentioned them too because they're not coming from a pseudo position. They're really breaking down the psychology, the European psychology of white supremacy, not on like a metaphysical level and all of that stuff that we used to, that we like to listen to. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is on a actual psychological level, right? Understanding how because your thoughts control everything. So once you understand that white supremacy is broken down by racial groups, but it has permeated every existence in life, you will understand the type of situation we're in. And now, like some of these things that we come up with, some of these things that we think are solutions, we'll understand that they're not solutions. Some people be like, if we just go back to what we was doing in Egypt, and if we just go back to what we was doing, and yada, yada, yada. But then you have to understand, well, white supremacy conquered Egypt. So you can't go back to what Egypt was doing. You're going to get conquered again.
And look, our brother Corey put this comment that I got up on the screen. He said, and when these dudes talk about separation, they act like white supremacy isn't a global phenomenon. Like, where you gonna go? Where you separate?
But what's funny about that is they do acknowledge it as a global phenomenon, because these are the same guys who talk about we need to fight global white supremacy, and that's why reparations needs to be a global push against white supremacy. At the same time, they're talking about separating and creating their own state. I don't know where. Some people talk about Africa, some people talk about land here, in the United States territory. But again, it is a system of global oppression and a power system. But they do ignore the fact that it is global on one hand, and then on the other hand, they tell you that it is global. So it is a kind of a confused type of ideology that these people are pushing in many instances. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. When Trump got in office, if you remember, he was talking about let's stop blaming white people or white men for all the problems. Like, don't let all the things in the past be a way for minorities and brown and black folks to make you feel bad about what your ancestors did or how we got to our power. So that's why when he started talking that talk, a lot of people feel like, yeah, why should we feel bad that we got all this power, all this wealth? But that goes back to religion. Even within religion, they felt that it was in their right power to enslave black folks. It was in their power to colonize and push European Christianity to people that already had their own form of religion and was worshiping one God and all that stuff. They felt it was their God-given right to control the world. That's what I meant by supremacy is here to stay. But what we could do is the younger generations see that type of mentality is affecting everything, even poor white folks. So we gotta let them know that listen, this form of white supremacy is just basically greed. And this greed is being held by 1% of the wealthy of white folks. So even your own supremacy, it makes you feel good that you look like rich people, but you're not even getting the money that they keeping to themselves. So we have an opportunity to show that listen, reparations is a start to kind of break down that white supremacist hold. It's not going to be the answer to everything, but it's just the beginning where it's like, okay, what poor white folks, you guys is also affected in this. If we get reparations to start building up black wealth, you guys gonna, get some of that stimulus because as we build our black wealth, where do we spend money on? We gonna spend money on white businesses too, small or big. So reparations to me has to be message that is good for everybody, including white folks. But it's the way that we can start ending poverty for everyone and break down white supremacy.
Indeed.
I agree. I just want to say, I got a taste of how deep white supremacy was when I got a classmate that's from Equatorial Guinea. We were on Zoom doing a project, and I heard him speaking to his uncle in Spanish, and I was like, "You a whole African? What are you doing speaking Spanish?" I'm like, "What did you get conquered by some Spaniards?" So I went and did my research, and sure enough, that's what happened. I got a buddy from Cameroon. He speaks French. Um, and he doesn't, he's lost a lot of his old African teachings. I noticed that about both of them. And it just made me really realize when you think about the scramble for Africa, as they call it, all the Europeans basically trying to fight to see who gets what part of Africa. Like it's a game. And you look at all these cities like Johannesburg, South Africa, and where the capital's beautiful, prosperous, all the white folks live good, but you look at the outskirts and there's thousands of black women and children and men who barely have anything. They digging in illegal gold mines just so they can put food on the table, and they still getting arrested for that. And that's the little bit of income they can get. And I just feel like we gotta really focus on what we can do to uplift ourselves in the reparations startup, because we're in a situation where we lost the war. They came, they conquered us, we're colonized. It is what it is. But what we can do is now at least try to figure out how we can win again, how we can get these reparations, get our communities built back up, close this wealth gap, and really see what we can do for the future. I mean, I'm only 24, so I'm trying to take initiative as it is now, as young as I am, to get these degrees, get more of my people in my age bracket educated on what's really going on, get involved in politics, because, I see it as if we can't wait on the older generation to do it no more. It's like the time is now. We can't keep waiting. We can't keep putting stuff off, and we got to really get to the nitty gritty and focus on what's important.
Indeed. Sister Brianna, did you want to speak to anything?
I'm just listening right now. But for me, I think in my life as far as how I'm trying to influence others. I mean, ultimately, my inner goal is to just continue learning the history and learning everything that I can possible to be able to know what I'm talking about when I get in front of people. But as far as the little bit that I feel comfortable doing when I'm reaching out to people, I feel a lot of the issue has to do with self-esteem and a lot of self-hate that people are battling inside, because a lot of the viewpoints that I hear people constantly spewing about why we don't deserve reparations, and even if I can get someone to admit that they do, they always bring up, Native Americans and Latinos and XYZ and what they deserve. It's a self-hate and self-confidence issue if you're constantly bringing up why someone else deserves something before you, and why you and your people don't deserve something. So I'm trying to empower others into seeing and understanding what your ancestors have been through and what your people have already done, and what strong people that you come from, so you can get to a place where you understand, like, okay, I do deserve reparations, like this is owed to me. And that's what I'm finding a lot of people aren't getting.
Indeed.
Yo, absolutely. And for everybody listening and everybody on the show, we have, a reparationist study guide for stuff just like that, for people just like you all, and even myself, that gives you quick references. It's not a whole lot of reading. It's not this is something that you can just keep with you, right? Volume 1 is out now. Can one of the brothers drop that in the link so everybody can get access to that? The reparationist study guide, based off From Here to Equality, right? The information from the book From Here to Equality, Black Reparations in the 21st Century, right? By Dr. Sandy Darity and Kirsten Mullen. We've the second edition is coming out in January, but we got the first edition already out, the Reparationist Guide. And what I'm hearing from each one of y'all is each one of y'all are reparationists in training, and you want to be the most proficient reparationist you can be, right? And we're here to help you do that, give you all the tools, all of the stuff that you need to put into your war chest and take it into action. The more information that you master, the more the confidence that you spoke about is going to build, and you're going to be ready to. It's going to be easy and it's going to be natural the more you do it, right? But you have to have the right information, and that's key. So everything you said was on point, and that's where your mind needs to be when you want to enter this space. You want to first don't be overcome by the zeal before you get the information. Like what the sister said was powerful. She's like, I want to read as much as I can, get the history, get the knowledge before I go speak to people, right? That's the mindset that you have to have, because this is the conversation is going to be very it can wear you out. It can wear you out, man. Like some of the pushback.
My bad, bro. I'm just letting the people know. We're going to put the link in the chat. Let me pull it up. I'm trying to navigate.
I appreciate you saying that, because I know like the data is so important, and I'm so inspired by like people like yourself and Yvette and just all the amazing people that are coming out of ADOS that have been doing this for so long and have so much knowledge, and y'all are really my inspiration. Like I want to be just like y'all, being able to quote this data like the back of my hand, because a lot of times I see people where we get so excited because we're learning so much, and like we're being opened up to all these things that we're owed, and it's like it's such a wake-up call that sometimes I feel like some of us that aren't as educated in the field, we get overly excited when we're just ready to battle everybody. And then I know for me personally, sometimes when I get a little bit too excited, I get caught up in situations and conversations where I'm being asked things where I don't really have the perfect answer. And I always have to like reel it back and say, yo, Bree, like instead of just going on Twitter and like trying to battle people all day, like you need to be reading, you need to be studying, so you know what to say. And I am better prepared when I'm in these spaces. So thank you for everything that you provide us.
Oh, honest, sis.
We appreciate y'all for listening.
Definitely. Because ultimately, you know, like my brother Logic said, we are striving to build up reparationists, and that is what our politics is centered around. It is centered around reparations. It is centered around closing this racial wealth gap, which essentially is justice. There's no higher form of justice for the American descendants of slavery than reparations. It's as simple as that. There's nothing that any politician will ever put in place that will be greater than reparations. That is ultimately our justice, and we have to keep our foot on the pedal, because you know I was born a 5%er, and one of our old sayings was each one teach one. And the more, as Sister Brianna was just breaking down, she's learning the information and the data. We're still learning. We're still assimilating a lot of this information and putting it out to you all, so that you can do that with the people that you know and who you come in contact with. For instance, my barber. I mean, we was debating every time I went in the barbershop about reparations. He felt it was a handout. And slowly but surely, certain things started to, you know, present themselves to him. And then finally, it wasn't the last time I went, but the time before that, he was like, hey, man, my wife, where she works at, she was having a conversation with this sister, and she was like, do you know that the United States of America is paying reparations for Jews? And they're, you know, the United States of America didn't even harm them. And I was like, yeah, I gave him a copy of From Here to Equality, so that he could get an understanding of why I came in the shop last year on this reparations push. So the more we build with people, the more they're starting to see that this helps also create our form of an informed electorate centered around our particular policy prescriptions that we would like to see passed in the legislative bodies. I'm trying to find this link. I can't find it. But somebody go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that a lot of people don't know, but in the Caribbean, they already won some cases to get reparations. So the Caribbean islands, they came together and put this form this group to get reparations. They actually won, and they still trying to get more reparations. You know, there's been local wins here and there, so it's a global movement. But a lot of the countries and islands that got colonized, and they're getting foot and getting reparations. So there's a lot of examples where in America there should be no one against reparations when you have other countries and islands getting reparations and getting wins. So it's happening. It's real.
Me personally, I feel like if the Jews was able to get reparations, then we should automatically be eligible for reparations. We just got to keep pushing for that. Keep fighting on it. I'm gonna keep coming to Be the Power and watching these brothers, Naeem, Logic, you know, Brother Ali. They've been inspiring to me. I come here just to get information. I've become a fiend for information, I want to say. You know, I've been reading a lot. I always read articles. I'm always open to new information that's, you know, put in front of me. And I feel like that's what you have to be. You got to be somebody that's in love with information, wanting to know more, and able to be objective and see both sides of the story. And once you can do that and be able to look through both of those lenses, I feel like you can win those arguments when it's time. And I just want to keep learning as much as I can, so when it's time to have those arguments, I'm going to win.
Indeed, indeed. I'm trying to, hey, family, what's up? Come on through. There's a lot of people talking in the chat. I got one of the Morris brothers. He's talking about this is a what did he say? A judicial issue or something like that. Where was that comment at? I'm trying to get the brother to come on. He said reparations is a civil suit. Bah ha ha.
All right.
Go holler at Ben Crump here in Tallahassee. Click on the link, brother.
Well,
yeah, I really would. Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So a lot of those things that you hear, that you'll even see in the chat, a lot of the pushback that you see, you will find in that reparationist guide, and it's not. This is expert remarks, like from Dr. Darity, Dr. Lisa. Like, there's so many good expert work that has gone into this reparationist guide. It's paramount that y'all click that link, download it, save it, and reference it often, right? And because that right there is going to be half the battle, right? Get from here to equality, right? Read that, but that reference guide is going to be a quick reference, and you can pull that right up on your phone and be like, hold up, a civil suit, hold up, what is? And it's straight. It has all of these staple pushback comments, like people always say, like, it's going to cost me my tax money, and all of the stuff that you hear. Reparations was so long ago. It has all of those, the talking points that you can go straight to. We have to start operating like a unit. You understand? Because ultimately, it's not going to be my work that gets reparations done. Ali's or Naheem's or Yvette's or Dr. None of us alone are going to get it done. It's going to be the political will of the people, right? So if the people, right, that's why we're here for y'all. That's why the show is called Be the Power, because we got to stop fighting the power and become the power, right? Only way we can do that is everybody has to lean on each other. Everybody has to help each other. We don't have no time for no big I's and little U's. This is not about I, me, and mine. This is about us, we, and our. You understand? So there is nobody who's insignificant. You won't hear me telling nobody to sit down. You don't. No, we at Be the Power here, we insulate and we educate. We don't isolate people and berate them for their lack of knowledge. Now, if they are obstinate and they're attacking, we have to defend this thing. That's we just got to understand that. But we need to make an honest attempt to insulate everyone, bring them into the fold, and say, look, family, here's some help, right? Here's some of these tools. Check this out, right? We don't want, oftentimes, even with our own family, my own family, right? We don't want to get this information because this information is powerful and then just start beating everybody up with it. That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is educate and uplift our people and let them understand there is hope out of this situation, but it's through the people. We have to do this thing together without us working as a unit like all groups before us have done with their oppressor, right? They have had to come together. Even the Europeans, colonies here had to come together and form the Union, now known as the United States of America, to fight their daddy, Great Britain, right? They had to unify. They had to create a union, right? We have to create a union of reparationists, right? And use other reparations who are sympathetic and sympathizers to our plight and work with them. We have great examples. And it's all about us getting there together. Nobody's going to get there by themselves.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's bring up a topic. Somebody wanted us to bring up. Somebody left a comment on, I think it was the last live stream we did, and they wanted to speak about Mercer Baradaran being appointed as and Ali. Matter of fact, I want you to come before we go into that. I want you to say what you were about to say, but. What I guess the question is basically, if I could boil it down, is what do we feel about our chances insofar as this push for reparations now that we have I want to say a semi-reparationist being appointed by the Biden administration. But Ali, you could whatever you were going to say, and then if you want to lead into that question, and then we'll swing it around.
Now, what I was going to say was I was going to ask the brother to just click on the link, the Moorish brother, to click on the link, and so we can have that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
I love those conversations. I really want those brothers to come through. But in terms of Mercer Baradaran being appointed, I think it's a good look. I think it's definitely a step in the direction where we need to go. That's just one part of it, because she has a lot of information that could be very, very helpful to having Biden and his administration understand exactly what they need to understand in terms of our economic positionality, the history of it, how we got to where we are and everything like that. But that's one part of it. The major part that we have to deal with that she might be able to help with is making sure that the language in whatever bill, whether it's HR 40 being re-edited, whether it's a brand new bill starting from scratch, whatever bill that comes through Congress, she will be able to help inform in terms of the drafting of the language. She will be able to help inform because she's very, very knowledgeable. So people like her, as far as I'm concerned, are an asset in terms of where we're trying to go with this whole thing. So I don't see a problem with it. I don't see a problem with it.
Indeed, indeed. Somebody said there's nothing semi about her. So I guess they're vouching for her as being a full reparationist.
She's on point.
Sister Brianna, then we're gonna come to Brother Logic, and then Zell and Mike, y'all could jump in. I was hoping for some more people to come. I wanted to spice this thing up a little bit. Y'all know I like spicy. I like my meals spicy every once in a blue. Ain't nobody trying to come on and debate on nothing at all. We can't get one debate out of this. Go ahead, Sister Brianna.
Honestly, I don't know enough about it to speak on it, so I don't have anything to say.
Definitely. Brother Logic.
I mean, any one of them other brothers want to tap in before I say what I gotta say?
All right. Are y'all familiar with?
I was gonna say, I'm familiar with her. I was gonna say, from what I've read, briefly, she's a reparationist, somebody that we need in that position to move us forward. To me, at this point, it's just anybody that's willing to change the language on these bills and actually put us at the next step. I'm behind 100% as far as reparations. So,
indeed, Mike, Brother Mike.
Yeah, I just want to have more people. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I think that reparations should be the measuring stick moving forward. We got 2 years coming, right? In the next 2 years, they always elect new House members. So House members coming from the Democratic Party, from the blue states, they gotta have a stance on reparations. And if anybody in the House is against it, they got to be voted out. I'm about, let's be active as far as finding out who's for reparations right now in the House of Representatives on the Democratic side. If they're not for it or they kind of like wavering, let's get somebody in there that's going to be strong for it. That's what I'm for.
Indeed. Brother Logic, and then Josh just joined us. Shout out to our other BTP brother. He didn't wait until the end of the end of the stream to jump on.
Peace.
Peace. Yeah, Brother Logic.
Yo, so all right, I want to ask a couple questions and then I'm just trying to make a couple points. So Mercer, right? So she's someone tell me, what position is she going to be occupying? Let me get that answer real quick.
All right, I forgot offhand, so I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah. I was going to do that. You have to Google it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lead us somewhere real quick. I'm trying to make, hopefully people get this.
All right, it says in November 2020.
She's just part of the transition team.
Baradaran was named a volunteer member of the Joe Biden Presidential Transition Agency Review Team to support transition efforts related to the United States Department of Treasury and the Federal Reserve.
All right. Now, with that being said, please explain to me how she can help us with reparations in this capacity. Touching on bills, crafting of any kind of language in that capacity from what you just read. Where does it give the kind of idea that she can be, influential in the crafting of reparations legislation?
From that position. I'm just asking the question. I don't know.
Right. I'll answer it. She can't. All right. So to get excited, that's another symbolism. So they appoint, so in my mind, this in my opinion, right? This is how I'm analyzing this. They they know her body of work, right? So they appoint someone to a position like that so the name recognition can get out there and get our people excited again. Because most of our people don't know what someone does on a Treasury transition team. They know Treasury, they know Treasury, they know money, and then they know the sister's work. They'd be like, well, maybe she can, ooh, wow, this might be something to help reparations, but they didn't put her in a role that she can help reparations. She's helping transition information. So it's like a handover, right? So she can look at information dealing with what the past treasurer and Fed paperwork look like and things of that nature and give a good smooth handoff to the next administration. It's a transition, right? So, but they use someone like that, right? Because they know the other work that she's done. And that can kind of be some type of symbolism, some type of token piecemeal gesture to give some type of false hope to the people. You understand? But she can't do anything in that capacity to help reparations legislation be crafted, get passed, or anything of that nature. Not in that position. So to get excited about her operating in that capacity is insignificant, right? We have to be politically focused. That brother was not Mike for real. I like where you was going with that, because that's where the focus has to be. It has to be on that house. It has to be in the Senate. It has to be on the house first, right? We have to get in the Senate. Reparations is a congressional issue, right? We have to understand that. Reparations is a congressional issue, for one, because of Congress's special relationship with the Treasury. Congress is the only body in the government that has the power to direct the Fed. It has the power of the purse. The president can't do that. He can veto a bill. I mean, he can veto or he can sign the bill. That'd be great. He can advocate. He could use his position as party leader to help ravel the base up and get things moving and try to make sure that's a national agenda that people know about. But it doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't turn into the right legislation that we need. We have to have a congressional focus with our representatives in the House and our senators in the Senate. That's where the focus has to be, because they're the ones with the power of the pen and the power of the purse. That's where the focus must be. And we have to focus and target the political consequence like that brother was talking about. If you're not with reparations, you got to go. You understand? We have to understand that so that we won't get excited when they put people who wrote things that may support reparations, but they don't put them in a position to support reparations. You understand? So now if she was becoming a senator, I'd be excited. If she was becoming, a House of Representatives, if she was becoming a representative, U.S. rep, I'd be excited, right? So, but they didn't put her in a position to help us fight this thing. She's just a part of the Treasury transition team. That's a paperwork review position to give a smooth handoff to the next administration.
Not only that, it's not even saying that she's going to be a cabinet secretary. Even a cabinet secretary is over departments that can influence the policy. Those different departments that can influence the that's over top of a huge budget within that department. So we're talking about somebody who was going to advise or give advice to somebody who will be eventually getting those cabinet positions. So I think it's more of a symbolic thing, and I don't see how, in terms of it being for us, I don't know. I would love to hear her tell the story about how she influenced it, but I just can't see how it moves the needle much in terms of what we need to have. And I guess maybe if we want to get some type of judgment of that before she's able to tell us about it, we just have to see who the personnel is that end up getting in the position.
The importance of an actual treasurer or the president or the chair of the Fed would be important in this regard, not in the actual crafting of legislation, but the understanding of the sovereign monetary capacity of the United States Federal Reserve and the United States Treasury. Someone who's not going to, well, all of them know this, from Bernanke to Greenspan, all of them know this. But for one who's going to be open and honest and vocal about it and use that position to say there's nothing stopping us from funding a reparations project to the tune of whatever the debt may amount to, that would be an important role for a treasurer to play, for the chair of the Fed to play and be vocal about expressing to the public that there is nothing, there's no financial constraints, and taxation is not involved with federal funding. That would be the best thing that they could do in that particular capacity. But other than that, I don't see what they could do in that position, because that space doesn't involve, the legislation that we would need to enact such a project.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah. If she was Treasury Secretary or Chairman of the Federal Reserve, that'll be another thing. Because she's, if you go look up her statements, Mercer Barada, I can't bring up my screen right now, but you bring up like the article where they're actually, describing her as, being a member of the transition team. They quote her as being critical of Biden and Harris campaign. I'm just going to just put a Mercer Barada run transition. They quote her, and she's talking about, hey, Biden and Kamala, we need reparations. It's either reparations or go home, And I was like, okay, that's what I like to hear,
My bad, bro. So she made that quote about them, and they still brought her on the team. I wonder if that's what's kind of fueling some of the early excitement.
No, I have no doubt that that's a part of it, but then we got to go again into how we started this discussion and about white supremacy and understanding the primary function. White supremacy is an intricate system, but it only really has two functions. One is deception and the other is violence. That's the only way white supremacy deals, deception and violence. So they understand. They have done this time and time again throughout history, and particularly with our people. They'll take one of our champions, even though Mercer's not one of us. They'll take someone who we think is a champion of our issues and our concerns, and they'll elevate them to a space to where they can't really do anything, but it looks like a win for us, right? So, and she's not going to. Everyone in that space is going to be like an opportunist. You understand? She's not going to turn that type of job down to be, a part of that and have that on her resume. That's a good job for her. Even though that has nothing to do with reparations, that's a job for her. But they using her history and her advocacy in that space because they know how loud that message has been. And they know that they are not really concerned. And they know, because if you've been paying attention, reparations is a constant hitting point. So they're trying to give these little token symbols of something that really don't mean anything. Now, if he wanted to say, I'm going to appoint her to this meaningful position or that meaningful position, then the excitement, I could see the excitement. So we can't be early to get excited. We have to be calm, watch things. Don't be excited about every little movement that takes place. See some results. You only know something by the fruit that it bears. I can tell you I'm about to plant an apple tree, but till you see some apples start to come on that thing, don't get excited. All right?
Yeah, I got this article. I got an article I'm just reading from. It says in observers. I'm gonna send y'all. I can't because I'm on the phone and the iPad. I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna put it in our chat so y'all can pull it up if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just copy real quick. Copy. All right, let me just send it to y'all.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, when they picked her out, right? Like, how far does she go into reparations? Like, I never actually read her book, but from what the article says, I don't think she's going deep enough in reparations. I don't want her, because the thing is like they might give us the reparation package that's just symbolic, like on college vouchers and housing vouchers. But we know that it has to go deeper than that. It has to go into, are you going to be giving money to Black businesses that could build construction companies and factories in Black communities that's going to get people out of poverty? Money that's going to be able to hire our own people and educate our own people in the tech. The type of money that
I would say check out her work, because she goes a lot deeper than just stuff on face value and
But that's good.
you know what I mean? She's really heavy. She's a wealth of knowledge. Believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's deep.
Okay, great.
I was hoping some people was gonna come on. We had a couple cats that said they was gonna come on and drop a freestyle. Ain't nobody come drop no freestyle. I wanted to hear some lyrics. That might have made me turn up a little bit. My brother Josh got bars as well. What happened, Josh? Have a little BTP cipher up in this piece, man.
Yeah, go ahead, drop the beat. Go ahead, drop the beat.
Drop the beat. No beats. No beat. No beat.
Hey, look.
I had a question. If I don't know how many people had opinions on it, but what can we do? Because what I've been reading, I'm an artificial intelligence major, so what I've been reading and hearing is about to go through this fourth industrial revolution, the Great Reset, so to speak. What are some things we can do as a Black community so we don't get left behind? As far as tech, because he mentioned tech, and that's what made me think about it. As far as technology, coding, especially in times like now with COVID, where there's not many hands-on jobs that's hiring, but there's a lot of coding, work from home jobs that's available right now. And for what I've been reading with this Great Reset, this is something they kind of want to make a norm. So what can we do to make sure that Black folks are technically savvy and able to get some of these jobs that's going to be up for grabs?
Who wanted to touch that? I mean, I ain't got too much to say. Now, let me say real quick, and Brother Ali, you could come in. I mean, you know, when you go back and you look at what Dr. King was talking about all the way back in the 60s about automation, you know, one of the problems with automation, which is an earlier form of AI, because you have machines doing the work that manual laborers did, is that it took the human element out of it, and it created not just efficiency in building for the company, but cost efficiency as well. I don't know, you know, where we fare at in this whole thing, being that we've been historically boxed out, right? So if you got automation going on, let's go back to the 60s on half of the plant, then you ain't got to hire as many quote unquote Negroes, right? You look at today, you have immigration boom. I said I wasn't going to say a lot. I'm saying a lot. You have an immigration boom, right? You got Biden talking about what, 50,000 Indians he's going to let come through, I think, per year. And I believe the other number was 11 million. Somebody can correct me on that. And I'm like, these
95,000 a year.
How much?
I think it was 95,000 a year.
Sheesh. So that you have a people that are already coming from, I mean, they're learning tech at 14 and 15. They're learning coding at 14, 15. They're already learning this stuff. So, you know, it's hard, man. You know, that for me, that's definitely a hard question to answer outside of we need to become the politicians that we need in those seats, making sure that we are at the table and not on the menu, basically.
Yeah. A lot of the tech companies are looking for those H-1Bs. You know, they specifically look for them for their own reasons. You know, Josh, you could probably break that down. I see Nick just spit something on the H-1B visas will definitely be in full effect. Yeah, those tech companies, they're looking for people, you know, they prefer those particular individuals over actual citizens here for whatever reason. Josh, you could probably go into that, but in terms of competing with AI, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know what I mean? Because I see things right now. You know, just like one of the last times I was in the supermarket, they have they have these robots that are doing like the janitors, like sweeping the floors and stuff. There's like robots in the supermarket doing that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's the job of an individual. You know, that's somebody's job. That's something somebody was doing. You know, going through the toll booths. They're taking up all around New York City. They're taking up all of the toll booths where, you know, you had toll collectors and stuff like that. They're taking all of the toll booths up and replacing them with the automatic, you know, you go through it. In New York, they call it an easy pass. And, you know, probably in other places, they call it different things. But it's called an easy pass in New York. And so you can just go through the toll. You know, all those toll takers are losing their jobs. You know, I have to figure something else out. So it appears to me that you're probably going to have to get into science and technology, you know, and other things like that in order to really maintain also ownership. We're gonna have to get into ownership and the service industry, being able to provide services that are needed in society. What you say, Josh?
Yeah, I was just having a discussion on this yesterday in my house, and we and that is, artificial intelligence is a beast, man. That thing is getting ready. I mean, we already have to compete with having lower education, lower high education rates, having lower capitalization in business, having lower numbers of our people as far as graduated in technology fields or STEM fields and things like that. But now we're talking about and we just touched on H-1B visas and immigrations from other groups. But now we got to compete with artificial intelligence, and that's like, how can you compete with? I mean, everybody else has to compete with that, but you want to talk about already disadvantaged groups having to deal with that, man. It's a tall task, but we what we talk about on here is largely what you can do as far as politically. And I don't think we've spent a whole lot of time talking about, because at the end of the day, like, reparations is about closing the racial wealth gap. And, if you look at the title of Dr. Darry's book, is From Here to Equality. We want the racial wealth gap to be closed, and we want our situation here in America to be at a point where everything else equal, we got equal opportunity, and, we can go after becoming like Americans. I mean, the high levels of wealth and success, just like everybody else, without the tremendous barriers that we have due to generational oppression. However, if you want to say, what can we do individually to, to try to close the racial wealth gap? Hey, I think trying to identify those. If you are willing to get into college student loan debt, if you're willing to commit the time away from whatever it is, you're gonna have to make a sacrifice away from, whatever you got going on, making money right now, family, and securing certain certifications, securing certain levels of education in fields where it's not going to be obsolete in the very near future, as we can foresee, right? I think those are things that you can do to mitigate. In addition to that, it's other things that we're going to have to start embracing. We're going to have to be way more resourceful. And I hate to get into the do for self stuff, but there is an element of that we're going to have to do to survive, like not be embarrassed about having to take certain measures that's actually in your financial well-being, that's outside of what will be generally accepted as from people that people like to see in society. For example, stop worrying about I hate these tropes, because when I say this, people gonna take it like it's a commonality, it's a trope that other groups put on us. But we know at some level, at some degree, it is not only us. It's some degree that with everybody. But us being the most disadvantaged, we're going, hey man, you're gonna have to be all right with getting some more roommates. Have to be all right with getting staying at home with your parents or whatever, if you got that luxury a little bit longer, until you get your straight, right? You know what I mean? And get your what degree or certification, whether it be in a cybersecurity or AI or whatever the case may be. I don't know, man. I don't got all the answers on that. I just know that you're right. We got to get better positioned for the future. But the main thing that we try to stress in this show is that there is no black business without black politics, as I've heard on Breaking Brown's show, and she said that many times, and that the fight to affect the whole group is largely got to be political. It's largely got to be political, and it's about getting as many people to see that if we don't tackle these issues as far as us ADOS's specific issues relating to us, then we're going to be finished. We're just going to just be wiped away with the sand, washed away with the sand, like at the sand on the beach. And I mean, we're just going to be perpetually at the bottom.
Indeed. Sister Brianna, did you want to speak to that?
Oh, Josh said so much. I gotta rewind it back. He covered so much, but to co-sign what Ali was saying, he was giving some of the examples of things that have been happening. So I've definitely seen what he's been talking about as far as like the robots they've been having doing janitorial work. We have those at all the Walmarts out here in my area. I've been following for years because I bartended for a long time. So I've been following the bartending industry, and in a lot of countries, they've been using drones to serve in restaurant jobs for a very long time, as far as bartending, serving, and cooking. They have actual, like, you can watch videos, they're all over YouTube, of like the drones. You put in your orders on a tablet and the drones will come and they fly and come right to your table with your drinks, your food, everything. So this has been in the works for a very long time. That's partially what made me get out of the industry, because I knew that this was coming. One thing that I've seen as of recent, Amazon Fresh is like a big thing that's exploding and is gonna only get bigger in the future. And at Amazon Fresh, a lot of people been using it during COVID because they deliver, and they're one of the bigger, newer delivering services where you can get your groceries delivered within 2 hours. But if you go inside of the actual storefront, they actually don't need cashiers. So they have usually like 1 to 2 cashiers just for people like myself who are old school and want to go to the cashier. But they actually have these new shopping carts that actually ring up your order. As soon as you put something in the shopping cart, it has a touch screen that rings up your order and all that. And then when you're done shopping, you just put your credit card in there and you're all done. They have bags up at the front if you want to bag your groceries. But the point is, all of these advancements are coming very quickly that are killing low labor job markets, which is mostly what we work. One small thing that everyone can do, even though it's of course not the answer, but something small that you can do right now, is make sure that you don't support these places that are doing all these high scale animations. And if you have to shop there, make sure that you don't interact with the technology. So if you're going in a grocery store, if you're going in an Amazon Fresh, go through the regular checkout line. Don't use these new fancy carts. Like, just do what we can to show that they still need to keep some form of business in order. That's one small thing that can be done. But I mean, it's a really scary time, and I agree with everything that Josh said as far as we hate to talk do for self, and we all that Black business is not it, and that's a whole nother conversation that we can maybe get into later. But like, we have to do something to sustain ourselves. And he's right when he says, getting different trades under our belt. Like, I just recently finished school for getting a couple certifications in addiction counseling, because I chose that field because I felt it was a field that, would be basically pandemic proof, or something, that I'd be able to do and it'd be harder to automate. So we have to find, things like that, as well as, what he was talking about as far as the societal norms. Like, I am a pure representation of that. And once you take on that mindset of not conforming to societal norms and people looking down upon you because of some of the things that come with ADOS life, it's very liberating. And it's a lot happier place to be. Like, if you have to live at home, if you have to take on more roommates, all of those things that he said, we have to change that narrative of shaming each other for it, because it's ADOS life, and it's getting very real, and that's going to be a lot of our realities. And we don't need to be ashamed of it. It is what it is. Like, we got to do what we got to do to survive. But as far as doing these things to survive, we have to make sure that we don't get so caught up into doing these things to where it distracts us from our advocacy. We need to do just enough to be able to survive, but at the end of the day, reparations is the focus. There's no other way around it. So let's not get too distracted in this, trying to survive stuff. Just do the bare minimum. Do what you got to do, but political advocacy still has to be everything.
No doubt.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, I was just reading an article on this topic on govtech.com, and it says here that many tech companies also rely heavily on referrals from current employees, right? So now we got to think about Silicon Valley. Who are they recruiting? Are they recruiting people from historical Black colleges? According to this article, they're saying that they're not. That they feel like when they go to Black colleges, it's almost like they are not getting the best of the best. So there's still this situation, even in tech, that they may have to go outside of America to get, the better workers. And that's why I think that whole thing with Biden with opening America to a lot of people from India is a way to fill in these positions. But to me, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And advocacy got to come in to make sure that these tech jobs are going to HBCU people that's coming out from the Black colleges that's graduating, because there is a phase where they're not hiring Black people in tech. And there's a lot of Black people in tech that can do these jobs. So they gotta push for that. They can't allow these tech companies to leave us out of the loop. And even companies that are owned by minorities are not getting the funds that these white companies are getting. So hopefully through the Biden administration, we could push that message that, hey, you guys gotta open up your doors to Black colleges to get these tech jobs before you let the Indians from India come in and get these jobs.
Indeed. We got Brother Divine from Brooklyn on right now. I'll assume that's the Brother Divine from Brooklyn. Am I correct? Okay, what's going on, bro?
What's good, family? What's good?
Ain't nothing.
Peace, bro. What's going on with your family?
Everything's smooth, Ali. Everything's smooth. Can I say something real quick?
Oh, of course.
Definitely. So I just wanted to piggyback off what Sister Brianna was saying about one of the easiest ways to kind of combat what's going on with the automation is to make sure you do everything you can to support the live people that are in the establishment. So right here in Brooklyn, there's a McDonald's that they put the kiosks in, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a concerted effort or not, but everybody in the hood would not go to the machines, whether it was because they didn't know how to use them, didn't want to use them, didn't feel comfortable. And after a while, the kiosk is still in there, but nobody uses them, and they're completely shut down to the point where they had to hire more cashiers in this particular McDonald's for people to come and solicit the business. So there is definitely some truth and some proof in that pudding. Whereas if you do everything you can to show that there's a demand for live bodies, you could definitely change that business. Now, can that happen on a large scale? I don't know, but I definitely wanted to just jump on real quick and piggyback on what that sister said, because it happened in real time in Brooklyn. They just totally shut down the kiosks. Like I said, they are still there. They didn't deconstruct them and take them out of the establishment, but they're never on, and no one ever uses them.
That's so true. That's true what he's saying, and I can give one other testimony that happened to me personally. So I worked at a restaurant a few years ago. I'm sure y'all been to a place like a Chili's or Applebee's where they have like these tablets that be on the table. We had something similar at this place that I was working. Nobody used them like at all. In comparison to what they expected. Within a year, they got rid of the kiosk completely as a company, over 200 locations, got rid of the kiosk, and they got tablets. So then the employees had to, even though we're using the technology, it was still something for the employees to use and not for the customer to have to use. So it's so true what he's saying. Like when we do that, companies do notice, so that's definitely something we need to be doing.
If I could just close out on these points real quick. I really wanted to ask that question just to get it in everybody's thought process and really think about it, because this is what's happening. This is what's here. AI is not going anywhere. And what they're really trying to do now is figure out how to control it. I'm reading a book now by a man named Nick Bostrom. It's called Superintelligence. And it's basically how they feel if we don't give the AI certain values while it's learning, because they call it deep learning, where the neural nets literally learns about you. Like this company, Hanson Robotics, has a robot named Sophia that can have a full conversation with you right now. So that's how far we've come. And now what they're trying to figure out is how we can get it to where this AI doesn't outsmart the humans, and figure out that it feels like it needs to take care of us. I mean, we all seen iRobot. We seen how that movie went. Something similar to that.
Or the Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator. So that's a real life situation that they're scaling out, trying to figure out, can this happen? What can we do to stop this? So what we got to do is we got to understand that this is something we got to be ready for. We're talking about reparations, closing that racial wealth gap, but we got to understand we have other, forces coming at us. We got to look for this too. We got to, get the kids more involved and put a computer in front of them, teach them how to code at a young age, like the Indians do, like the Chinese do, because they're the people that's getting these jobs. I'm in these classes and seminars with all these computer scientists and coders, and I'm like the only black guy in here, so I'm already outnumbered, and it's like, man, if we have more of my people in here, we can make a difference. We could get some of these jobs, get some of these internships. I just applied for a NASA STEM program that I'm trying to get into next summer. So I feel like we got to take advantage of the resources we do have and continue to push for reparations. Once we get reparations, that's when we can get it full-fledged, implement programs, get kids more educated, making sure that we're covered on all fronts. We're not behind on technology, because I don't want it to get to where a couple, 2-3 years from now, we're losing even more jobs, because the jobs we did do, like truck driving, they got autonomous truck drivers now. So it's like Amazon's about to open 50 stores this year, like she said, autonomous, where it's complete surveillance. The AI's watching you, so they don't have to have police in there, because the computers watch you. They can see everything you're doing. So if you're gonna steal, they're gonna see you. And they're installing that.
They just busted a group in Amazon. Oh man, I can't remember how many thousands of dollars worth of iPhones they stole, but I just seen that story earlier. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they getting rid of that. They said, look, we're gonna have the AI watch you. We got it on the ceilings, we got it on the walls, got it on the floors, and it's complete surveillance. So what you gonna do? We got to be prepared for all of this on all fronts, and understand that this is where technology is going, and we got to be ready for it.
Indeed.
Can I say something to what Brother Zell just said?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So again, I don't want to be that guy that sounds like, I'm against getting into these industries. That's what I went to school for. I actually went to school for computer science. But it's something that Tony and Yvette talk about, and it's a saying that they have, and it's called plugs and outlets. And so, as someone that does work, I kind of I volunteer. And one of the programs that we had with the youth that we were teaching some of the STEM, training for some of the STEM jobs. And even after getting all the certifications and getting all of the, the training done, I can't remember who the name was, but somebody in the chat said something about it's not always about competence, it's about nepotism. And so what happens with the whole plugs and outlets is that we'll have all these plugs, ADOS plugs, and there's no outlets for them. Because even though we have the training, even though we have the competency, even though we have the ability, these corporations are still not hiring us in those numbers. And so I'm not against, getting training. And like I said, I went to school for that. I'm not working in that field right now for that very reason. But that's something that definitely needs to be addressed in the same way we're talking about getting us trained up in these industries. We have to do something that's going to address the plugs and outlets, because without the outlet, it don't matter how much competency we got.
And that's where entrepreneurship comes in. That's a great point, brother. That's definitely a great point.
Let me jump in on weigh in on this particular subject right here. Right, amazing points everybody made. Amazing points, good stuff. Just understand that why politics is so important. Politics is the science of who gets what, when, where, and how. All right. So these evolutions and advancements in technology are nothing new in history. When electricity replaced the economy that was oil dependent, and people had these same fears. When electricity started, you had the wealthy people, Rockefeller and the Edison and the JP Morgans going to war with each other, fighting over who's going to dominate the economy, right? And all the workers didn't know what we was going to do. They thought that if you what we going to do? Electricity's replacing oil and whatnot. But guess what? We have to understand that things are going to continue to move. We don't want to. I was always taught you want to be able to change with the energy, because the energy and time is always changing. Right? You don't want to be fighting against the way things are changing. You want to move with change, right? Yeah. So the things that y'all said make a lot of sense. We have to be able to be aware of the upcoming changes and everything in our life, and then understand the political component that ties everything together. Because there's still things, contracts are always going to be a thing. You understand? Local, state, and federal contract, right? The contracting power of the people, the will of the people is always going to be a thing, right? Because AI can replace certain jobs, but they can't replace existence. You can't just have a planet with robots, right? So there has to be something for the people. There's nothing greater than the power of the people, and the people have to exercise that power for contracting rights on the local, state, and federal level. You understand? And then under that, if you see these problems, we have to organize locally and say you have to break these problems down and compartmentalize them to your proximity to affect the change. So if I see this problem in my city, that's where I need to start my organizing efforts at, and say, look, we in the city of whatever are seeing these disparities in the hiring practices of these companies, and we demand that it ends, right? So then you can organize in a more concentrated way, and the efficacy will be there. And then we can spread that to the state level and the federal level, and we can start these things. But we always have the ability to execute political action and political consequences, because AI is not going to replace the United States government. You're not going to be voting for robots in the United States Congress, and the robot's not going to be the president. You understand? So we have to understand there are still ways we can affect what's going on. And then when we talk about reparations, what we must understand is reparations is not the end state. Reparations is the beginning. Right. Reparation is the beginning of all the possible all the possibilities and the things that we would have always been able to do had we had some type of justice in this country, right? If we had economic inclusion, if we weren't locked out of capital, if we were able to own the patents. And when we talk about this situation touches me, and I did a program on this really deeply because we talked about and the brother mentioned nepotism, right? It's a real thing. Just imagine the type of hold on the science and technology industry we could have had if we didn't have to deal with this oppression. We had the greatest scientific minds America has ever known in our lineage. George Washington Carver. Imagine the nepotism that could have been attached to that man and his inventions and all the people he could have put on, all the institutions and companies he could have owned and could have spread out from that. That even the sister Katherine G. Johnson, who was the one who came up with the formula for the no-go entry point coming back into space, like she still didn't even get the credit that she should have got for that. You know what I mean? They replaced, even when the IBM computer was coming out, they had a whole group of Black women who were called the human computers when the original computer came out. And they thought they were going to be replaced. But what we have to know is that we are unreplaceable in this country, right? So whatever new comes out and whatever happens in this country, we are always going to have a stake, a claim, and we are going to always have something to do because we are the people who have mastered making a way out of no way. Our backs have always been against the wall. So we're not coming from a space where now all of a sudden we're starting to feel some type of pressure. And like this may be a nightmare for other folks, but this has been our reality all of our lives. You understand? We've always been replaced. They're trying to replace us with immigrants, even the ones who ain't even citizens. They're trying to replace us with every single thing you can imagine. We since emancipation and they couldn't own our bodies, they have been trying to make us an instinct people, and we have been living as an endangered group this whole time. If they haven't wiped us out yet, there ain't nothing that's gonna wipe us out. So we have to just be like y'all right now and be aware of these things. See, y'all are good, aware minds, bringing this awareness to the people. And then we have these discussions and we come up with the plans and we execute them. And we always got to keep in mind, nothing can beat the will of the people because that is where all things are possible.
Yeah, I want to say one thing too. Regarding what the brother Zell was bringing up, because I think it's real interesting, and it made me just think back to something that people have been pushing me and nagging me about, sharing with everybody. But I got a kid who's very, very advanced for his age, and it's interesting now when you see how advanced he is, and then you think to like, man, it's probably 100 million kids in China, 50 million kids. I don't know how. It's a whole lot of kids in China or India that's probably at his level. And now when those kids, their parents or whatever come to America and bring them, or their parents or come to America and have them, they're raising him or him or her to be the level of advance as my son, who is like everybody looks at as like an anomaly, and that's what we got to compete against. Like I'm looking at, putting my son in school, and the schools don't really have, like, it's hard to find one that can put a program together for him. And I'm talking not like forget public school, that doesn't exist. He might as well he needs to be skipped to like the second, third grade, and he can't even go to school till next fall. And I started thinking about, like, as an ADOS person, how in the world there's no outlet for me to plug that. He's the plug, but there's no outlet for me to plug him into, financially, and also like understanding, even if there was not a problem financially, right? We still have to think about that socially. It's nobody there to look like him, in those schools. So that's those are some serious issues that we got to think about. So when I like me personally, I ain't go to no private school. I went to public school. Most of y'all, I don't know, most of y'all probably went to public school. And once I saw how crazy the level of education was and the level of attention to detail, and how deep they go into teaching these kids in these like top private schools, it makes you see that this country really doesn't really, I mean, it just, I already see it, but it drives home from an education standpoint how this country don't give a damn about our people, period. Because how is it that we have the richest country in the world with the most vast resources, and we're so greatly underfunding our education system to where, like, some of these private schools, a lot of private schools, they might have 10 to 12 students per teacher. Man, you go to public school, I mean, it's 20 some. I don't know. What's the high level of kids y'all seen per teacher?
30. 30, 33.
It's no way in hell nobody can learn anything in that environment at a rate where you can help to, like, help kids get ahead. It needs to be, we need to double or triple the amount of teachers in school. We need to expand the depth of the education. We need to put more resources. We need to pay the teachers more money. Like, we need to do all these things, and the government has the ability to do it. Like, when we talk about the logic and the what the government can do with allocation of resources as far as making currency and putting it to use to make it work for the people, that's one thing that we can do. That's one thing we can do, and that's something that has to be done on the federal level. And I think, of course, us not having reparations and not having wealth, you talk about like the middle black family worth $3,500 in DC, and the middle white family worth $281,000, the middle Indian family worth $573,000. If I got 150 times less wealth than another family who's already ahead, who's already got all these advantages, how in the world am I supposed to be able to compete as far as education? So, but I will say, even with all of that, we got to focus on what we can do and how we can make a way. And I'm just gonna tell you, I think part of my son's gifts is nature, but a lot of it is nurture too. I did some things as far as understanding not to put limits on them. And I'm just, y'all can cut in, but I'm just trying to share some things because the brother was bringing up, like, how do we compete? Being that reparations is a generational issue, something that's, is not really meant to let us live our best life in our lifetime and then be damned the next generation, right? It's to correct generations of oppression and close the racial gap so it doesn't just revert back in the next generation. So I feel like our approach now, we're gonna have to see what other groups are doing as far as what their kids are doing and the things that they're like. We're gonna have to make some adaptations to survive because we don't have the wealth to put our kids in them schools. We may have to raise them a little different. We have to focus on some other things than we used to focusing on. Like, so what I did with my son, now I'm not giving y'all advice or whatever. I'm just gonna tell you what I did. I had got a whiteboard, and I drew on the whiteboard like the alphabet, the numbers, and all of that. And I was going over the phonics, and I was going over like counting and all this kind of stuff. My son was only 3 months old, 3-4 months old, and I just was doing that every day for months and months and months. Whatever, people thinking I'm crazy. And then it was like 11 months. He knew all his alphabets. He knew all his numbers. He was counting. We would be walking through the mall. He was just a little baby, barely walking. He's screaming out, A, B, C, and then he would go, ah, boo, all of that. And then, everything I did and put in exposing to was centered around learning, right? So, I mean, everything. If I even had to let him watch a YouTube program, it was all about learning, everything. And then this dude, 23 months, he was reading books. He was, doing, spelling words and, doing math. It's crazy. I mean, now it's just, I don't even want to tell y'all what he's doing. But I'm just saying, like,
Just
I think it has to be it just the same way we have a political culture. We need how we raise our babies has some adaptation too, to where we understand that we're gonna be at a loss if we can't keep up with the education system unless we get addressed as a part of reparations. So we're gonna have to. Go ahead.
Interesting point you said, right? Tying into the how do we compete, and specifically with public schools, because like we said, without the capital, we don't really have a culture of private school kids on a group level. But public, let me tell you, the competition has to start politically. Everything goes back to politics. Now, what am I talking about? Public schools, you talked about we need more funding on the federal level. You can get more funding on the federal level. And in many instances, there's funds that are being appropriated for that. But the problem is not at the federal level in the greatest sense. The problem comes back down to the state and the local level. In most states in the United States of America, the majority of education funding comes out of property taxes. That's the first problem. The bulk of education funding comes out of property taxes, right? And then you get some state funding and some federal assistance and things like that. What you need to start doing as a group, what we need to start doing as a group is obviously we live in a COVID period, but post-COVID, you need to go and look at those of you who live in your state capitals, go to your state capital general assemblies, find out where the education committee is being held at, and when the education, those are public sessions. Go and listen to what they're talking about. They have an education committee all the time, and you need to go listen and go be a witness and go speak. Go find out. Guess what? Most people, if you ask them who is their school board representative, they won't be able to tell you. So you can't tell me you really give a damn about the education system. You don't even know who your school board representative is. How is that possible? You understand? So, and then guess what? The school board has a meeting. If you don't know who your school board, the public district superintendent is, you don't care nothing about your school system. You think you do, but you really don't, because you pay attention to things you care about. You know more about LeBron James and the NBA than your own kid's school system. You understand? So if you really cared about that, you would go after that and learn everything about that. Know who the principal is and their background. We can tell you about all kind of people's background, but we don't even know our kids' teachers and their principal's background, the superintendent's background. You understand? All of this is public information. You understand? Know who is on the school board, when the school board meetings are being held. A lot of this stuff is being done on public telecoms and Zooms and whatnot. You are privy to this information. Those things are paid by the tax dollars. The U.S. government is not funded by taxes, but on the state and local level, absolutely. That is the people's business. That is your civic duty to be involved in that stuff. If you care about education, you got to be there. You got to be at every meeting that you can possibly make it to. I know it's unreasonable to think that you're going to be at every meeting, but you got to be there. You have to put pressure where pressure is needed. You understand? So in specific regards to that, we have to come up with a political plan to execute to target how public school is funded in the first place. You understand? And so we know that we're already in a bad spot when the bulk of public education system funding comes from property taxes. And most of it is a flat tax, right? Not a progressive or a recessive tax. It's a flat tax, meaning it's 10% across the board in the whole city, or right? But 10% where the homes cost $1 million, and 10% where in the neighborhood where the average home is 50, 60, maybe 80,000 to 100,000 is a way bigger difference. Those are different banks. Those are different purses. Right. So you see why they can do certain things in the affluent side of town, and your Yours public school looks like that. So you have to change the way public school is funded and have more federal funding mandates come down. And you have to make sure that you are focused on it on the state and local level, because once it gets to your state, hands get on it, people do stuff, and you lose. If you lose sight of that ball, you don't know where it's going to end up. We have, and most of our issues, all of our issues go back to us just not being as involved as we should be in politics. I don't know if it's boring to you. I don't know if you're not interested, but all the issues that we care about, we don't, whether you know it or not, they're all political issues. All of them, every last one of them are all political issues. So when people tell me, oh, I'm not into politics, I say, yes, you are. You just don't know it. You are into politics. You just don't know it. That's everything right. You do is politics. When you go to the gas station and put gas in your car, that's politics. Every single thing you do in society is politics. Period. We have to understand that.
Indeed. We got brother Mike Michelson that's joined the panel. Somebody else asked for the link. I put it in the chat, but we're not going to be on here for 3 hours. But we could go on for a little bit longer. Brother Mike Michelson, what? Oh, no, there you go. Yeah, what you want to speak on, brother?
I hope you can hear me, and I hope that my connection stays maintained, but I'll try to keep it short and then get out of the system. But I just wanted to tell a hopefully relatively short story. There's a lot, like what Logic was just talking about, and some of the other panelists have talked about, and people in the chat. There's a lot to know. There's a lot to do. Since March, I've been unemployed. I lost my job, and I'm trying my best to be okay with it in terms of, at this point, I have a suspicion, or I feel like, and I'm not even really pursuing it to tell you the truth, that I'm going to ever be back in the workforce again, right? I've just come to that conclusion and have started to look to do some other things. But I sort of start off with that to sort of let you know who I am now, but I want to back up to a couple of years ago when I first started getting aware of what was going on through the context that Yvette, back when she was with Iron Me especially, was sort of educating me on. My parents, I'm originally from South Carolina. Right now I live in Long Island with some family members here. But I was staying with my parents at the time. I had just come back from Europe and I was looking for work. And I was sitting on the porch one day and I was looking across the street, and there's two houses. They live in a rural area of South Carolina, so there's not many houses around them, but there's two houses across the street. One is an older house, looks like it may be about 100 years old. And then beside, there's a house about the vintage of my parents' house, which is maybe 20 years old now. It's a little bit bigger. So the kids that live in the newer house, they always ride around the property on like golf carts, electric golf carts. And so I was wondering to myself, I was like, well, how big is their property that they have to just ride around it on these golf carts? And so I went on to Google Maps and I looked, and even from just the tree line, you could see that it was a significant amount of property. But in those instances, generally the property goes even further behind the tree line. So I was talking to my mom about it, and she said, yeah, the guy that, the father works at the cooperative, he's a lineman. And, she went on to tell me that the property that they had built their house on was actually part of the property where the older house is. And that older house is owned by the wife's mother, right? So I came to the conclusion, I mean, I don't know this, but I make up a lot of stories in my mind about how this might have happened. So I thought to myself, if they paid for the property, it was certainly below market value, right? Because it was in the family. At least that's the conclusion that I'm coming up to. But anyway, we have these kids driving around, and they look like they might be in high school or junior high school, driving these little golf carts around the property. And at the time, I was unemployed, looking for a job. And now, for anyone who's going through the process, that everything is online, right? So, I'm going through these different portals or whatnot. So I go to the cooperative and I start to look for positions there. Now, they have a system, like a lot of companies do, where they ask you a couple of screening questions. And if you answer no to any one of those screening questions, your application is automatically taken out of the system. Basically, they send you an email almost immediately saying you won't be considered for further considered for this particular position. And I thought to myself, this guy's a lineman. He's been working at that job for at least long enough that they can buy this house. He's my age, from everything that I understand. He can pay for this house that is, somewhat more expensive than my parents' home. It's a little bit larger. And he's doing this as a lineman. So I'm guessing he's probably getting paid well. But again, he's been on the job for a longer time. And I thought about those kids, and I thought to myself, what I imagine is going to happen is that if they want a job at that cooperative, all they have to do, or all that he has to do, is say, fill out the application, answer yes to the questions, and we'll flag your resume and get you in here for the interview, and you can learn what you need to learn on the job, right? But if you don't have that and you answer no to any one of those questions, you're not going any further, right? And that still happens today. So even when I'm, I have to, because I'm in unemployment right now, I have to fill out these applications online. And, I'm confronted with that every day. It's not that I'm not competent, right? But if I see an application of something that I'm interested in, and they ask any screening questions about any specific skill or software package, which is what they love to do, right? It can be something proprietary in-house that you won't have any other way to learn unless you've done that job before. If you answer no to that, you're not going any further, right? So there's sometimes that I just answer yes. Like I said, at this point, I just don't care anymore. It's just sort of perfunctory. But there's a lot of stuff that we kind of have to understand what we have to maneuver in. And even when you're, like we were talking about, I put the comment before about the nepotism, even when you're qualified, sometimes you just don't get through because they've put all these little barriers up that you just can't get there. And the comment that I put was a specific conversation I had with an Indian friend of mine, and he was having problems getting into the system. And I think now, based on what I understand about what we've learned recently, that it was a caste situation, because none of his Indian friends would advocate for him to get further than he was. And he was working retail with me at the time. But he used to tell me, he said, these guys don't know those jobs. They learn it once they get there. They get friends to get them in, and they learn on the job. Right. Wow. So it's not like they come in with all the competency that they've gone through all these IT programs. Maybe they have gone through an IT program, but not all of them have. And I worked here up until March as a corporate trainer. Right. So I was going into Manhattan, all on Long Island, into these different organizations, NYPD, Rikers Island, in New York State Department of Transportation. And in a lot of those, you probably know Naheem because you're from up here. There's an office for the New York State Department of Transportation out in Hall Park. So it's halfway down Long Island. And when I would go there to train, I used to ask myself, how did all these Indian people get these jobs? These weren't necessarily IT people, but those classes were always full with Indian people. And I was thinking to myself, here, not like in North and South Carolina, you don't have you don't have to take exams to get these jobs, but here you have to take exams supposedly so that everything is fair. But it seemed to me, I was thinking to myself, I'm in here teaching these things so you don't know them, right? But somehow you got this job and making 2 to 3 times the amount that I'm making to teach you the stuff that you have to learn in here. It was just crazy to me, really. But I guess what I really wanted to say, and I'll get off, is just that there's a lot of little things in the systems. You go to school, you get your education, and and then you still get blocked from these automated processes, right? They don't even have to see your resume. You can't hardly get your resume in front of anybody these days if you don't know them. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely. Oh, definitely, brother. Thanks for coming on. We got a new panelist right now, brother Saint Brandon. Introduce yourself, brother, and tell the people what's on your mind.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Brandon, and hi. And just I'm a fan of BETHEPOWER, and I just wanted to come through with a consideration. I see what we're doing here on BETHEPOWER. Much respect to that. And I've been following you, brother Naeem, for a long time. Even when you used to come on with the feds.
Okay.
But one of the considerations I would like to inject is a way to move reparations as a reparation is a way to move reparations, the reparations argument into, like the academic spaces. As a brother that went to Georgia State University, and I got received my degree in philosophy in that department. Everyone has to take ethics classes. Everyone has to take ethics and more. Everybody has to be at least a brush of moral arguments and ethics. And one of the things that I saw back in 2011 was, and this is before the gay rights legislation was passed by Obama. One of the things that I saw, or it could have been shortly after that, I'm not sure, but one of the things that I saw is, a strategy by the LGBT community was to get the arguments for gay rights into, all over, all into like ethical and moral books that we would read as philosophy students. One of the lead most followed and most revered moralist and ethicist, philosophical ethicist in the world is an Australian philosopher by the name of Peter Singer, and his books is all over the place in every from Harvard to Morehouse to all institutions of higher learning. His books are very, very influential, and I was seeing the arguments for gay rights over and over. Even people who were not philosophy majors may have encountered some of the moral arguments that Mr. Singer would make. And so one of the things I tried to do over the course of the past year is try and reach out. Now I'm a small fry, as a lot of people may know in comparison to somebody like Peter Singer, but there should also be an academic push to get it, to get the subject of reparations placed in some of these institutions of higher learning and higher education. So I feel like if we're gonna expand out, start with panels like this going on YouTube and expanding out. The academy is definitely a place where we want to get the argument, reparations as argument into those places. So that's my 2 cents right there.
I love that. I mean, hey, we definitely need to build off air, brother. Are you on Twitter or Facebook or somewhere where we could connect?
Yeah, definitely. I'm on Instagram too. But yeah, I can definitely hit you up on.
Yeah, hit me up, bro. We definitely need to connect and build. We need more reparationists in this space, particularly from the intellectual level, so that we can start building up our platform. We're working on our website. That website has went through a couple crazy turns already. I ain't even gonna go through that right now. But I want to welcome Brother Dre to the platform as well. We have another reparationist correspondent on the panel. Peace, bro.
Yo, peace. What up? I'm sure y'all already talked about this, Naheem. I think after the last couple of days, we have to start a whole new hashtag to kind of like remind Barack Obama he's not one of us, because I've never met. Well, let me not say I've never met. He's spoken to us more outside of his presidency than he ever did in 8 years of his presidency. So it's like, so you could reference Lil Wayne, as I responded to your post earlier today. So you're going to reference Lil Wayne, talk about he's in your playlist, but now hip hop, gold and bling is the reason why black men voted for Trump. Like,
Yeah.
where was this man at when 1 out of every 6 black men wasn't working during his presidency? Where was this man at during these riots because of just political unrest? Where was this man at when all these black folk were losing their home? But he's gonna tell us bling, hoes, and clothes is the reason why we voted for voted for Trump. As if Jay-Z then said you could find me in a Trump International. As for me, like what?
Man, can I expand on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as Obama, yeah, I seen that earlier. Actually, I seen it because I think Naheem retweeted it. And I seen that. I'm like, did we forget most of the entertainers and rappers with the bling bling are usually supported by Democrats? I know Jay-Z and Beyonce were advocates for Hillary Clinton. A lot of them came out for Joe Biden. We got to understand that we got duped. I'm 24 years old, and I can tell you that we got played by Obama. We got swindled, bamboozled, hoodwinked, whatever you want to call it. He's not who we thought he was. He's not who he says he is. If you really look into his background, you'll see some deficiencies. I don't want to go into too deep. I just tell people to go do your research on Obama and what he really stands for and represents. I know he grew up with socialists and communists around him. That's what he was raised around. That's what he knows. And I don't appreciate that he was put on this pedestal for black people to think he was going to be a savior when he got in office, we really let our guards down, if you ask me. We thought stuff was going to get done and it didn't get done. And now we got to live with it.
Indeed.
Well, listen, I think I understand exactly what you're saying. I totally agree. But it's not about just doing your research, right? Because what you have to understand is that when it comes to him, he kind of like, we were so, and I can include myself, because at that time I was in my mid-20s and I was in college at the time. And like I tell people, I think I said it on last week's show when I said, listen, during his presidency, I realized how much of a political education I did not have. And during Trump's presidency is I realized how much 90% of us lack a political education, right? One of our friends, me and Lord Abba, our friend Garfield, did a video yesterday saying on his Facebook that it's black hatred that we don't like Kamala. And I really scratched my head to the point I got a ball.
Oh, God.
Because I said to myself, I know maybe because I've been to India and I really know what it's about. I'd be really trying to like, because you know me, and Naheem will tell you, like, I fell off the face of the earth with that stuff. Like, I really like just fell back because I now know how silly and scattered and just like, we're empty. Because when we decide to be politically aggressive, then we're self-hatred. But then if we step away from it, then it's like, well, y'all ain't asked for nothing.
Y'all ain't doing enough.
So it's like, what?
Garfield will brag. I've called the congressman about reparations. Man,
right.
Shut up.
And he my man. And I battle with that because I'd be like, well, what exactly? Okay, so the one thing that I wanted to say, but I didn't because I'm practicing. I'm always disciplined. But I was about to, because I hate when people, not just him, when they say, well, she was locking men up because she was doing her job. I'm like, what? It's like saying if a cop don't crack you upside your head, he's not policing the neighborhood. It's like, I don't understand the concept of us being happy with benign neglect, but then saying, yeah, if you don't vote, then you're not being politically. It's like, what is it? Are we supposed to like just sit here and really become extinct within the United States? Or do we galvanize each other and understand that there is nothing, and I do mean nothing, that is black about Kamala outside of the bottom of her shoes or her stepping on black men's back?
Facts.
Or do we really hold these people to the fire? Like Barack Obama is talking down to the same people he used the same culture to get him elected. Like, how silly is that? You got your wife doing the Dougie, right? Like, she's doing the Dougie, talking about we're doing fitness class. And it's like, but you telling us rap and bling and this. It's like, what? And you did My Brother's Keeper with Rick Ross with an ankle bracelet on, but bling and rap is why we voted for Trump. It's just, yo, we're just scattered, man. It's just silly. It becomes to the point where it just is, yo, like we got to create some type of hashtag to let Barack know, bro, you ain't one of us, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came on, Dre. I like every time you come on. And what it is the fact that in one respect, people are just looking for anything. Some people are just, they'll accept anything just so that they can say that they had something. You understand? So Kamala is not black, right? Even we can even get on what is black in like understanding what that designation like was supposed to go to, what people that was supposed to identify. We can talk about that, right? And we can talk about, you know, the identification of black in and of itself. But when we talk about people praising Kamala and just reimagining her identity, you understand? Someone who all her childhood pictures, she's not dressed like my grandmother, your mother, or anyone else's mother. She's dressed like her mother, looking like her lineage looks, looking like that. And then you will see people like Tamika Mallory and other captured Democrats and just silly Negroes out here in the world, like just take little sisters that from our families and just put them up there and say, like, she represents us. She does not represent us because she has no attachment to our history, our lineage. Our plight is not her plight. You understand? She comes from a totally different background. She doesn't understand us. So we're so ready to cap for somebody because how they make you feel. And all this this political emotionalism is what's destroying us. You understand? And that's why we'll let the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and her cronies put on kente cloth and get on one knee and do all kind of weird stuff and think that that's supposed to mean something for us. That is disrespect. I said it earlier before you came on, Dre, that this is a criminal operation. I didn't say that because I think it sounds cool. I said that because that's what it is. You understand? And these are criminals playing us, hustling us. You know what I'm saying? Playing us. And we're eating it up because we can't see the con. And when people like us come and try to expose the con, you got the people that's so duped, right? Telling us, oh, y'all just being devices. Yeah, I'm being devices because we got to separate from that goofy stuff. You understand? We're not getting nowhere with that.
100%, bro. It's look.
Ain't nothing wrong.
At the end of the day, well, I always tell people, I've been to India twice, so ain't none of them can say anything to me. I've been to the Ganges River, seeing people eat, sleep, defecate, urinate, wash in that river, and tell me because of their dark skin, it's the reason why they down there. So I don't listen to none of these people who just like bird's eye viewing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been there, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, by me being in fashion industry, I've been there. And like, for example, real quick, like in China, if you get something made clothing wise, right? There's a process they'll tell you. First sample is the proto sample. Second sample, post proto. And then they be like, yo, we send it to the dye lot. Now, one time I had to go to India. Now, usually a dye lot in China is an actual like factory that deals with dyes. You go to India, it's a hole in the ground, bro. A literal group of people dyeing your stuff in a hole in the ground. This is why when you get your clothes made in India, the color is always like muted. If you ever notice it, it's like muted. Like it's never like rich, right? So I've seen it and I've heard them, the very few who speak English, a lot of them don't. They'll tell you, like, this is my destiny because of my skin tone. And you think for 1 second that the ones, if they live in that type of adverse, abject poverty, you think the ones that make it to the United States can identify with poverty? No, it's the ones who's above them who made it to the United States, not the ones that's living by the Ganges River. Like, what are we talking about? These people don't understand. Just go, listen, Naheem from New York. I'm from New York. Go to Dwayne Reed and look at how they look at you when you hand them your money. Are you serious? Like, come on, man. Kamala wear a yarmulke to the dinner table. Guarantee
you. That's funny. And let me just speak. Wow, we got a diverse panel of those of us who are descendants of American slavery right now, and there's gonna be some bumps in the road. There's gonna be some little squabbles that happen here and there. I think the only types of debates that we should be having is the one that's going on in the chat right now, and that is New York pizza better than Chicago pizza? Other than that, let's come together, family, and let's build. And of course, we stand on the side of New York pizza to all my Chicago heads on here.
Got a New York hat on, but I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, yes, okay. Well, we got two Chicago heads on here. We got a couple New York cats on here, and some people that's advocating for that NY pizza in the chat. It's something we bring up every so often from time to time just to lighten up the mood a little bit. But right, on a serious note, right now, I think it's a time for us. I think that we are helping to build and develop a core of political minds. And we should take this platform and every other platform that's teaching this information and start really educating ourselves so that we can start becoming the power, so that we can start moving into political spaces. My brother Logic goes in all the time speaking about the what's the name of the office, brother Logic?
What you talking about?
The political office.
Precinct committeemen,
precinct committeemen.
They call different things. They call county committeemen, precinct committeemen, but you'll know them by their function. It's the grassroots of party politics, right? It's the grassroots of party politics.
And I think we should all start looking at that and start formulating plans with our groups, with our family members, et cetera, et cetera. We spoke about automation here tonight. Brother Logic made a good point about, people power is going to always be relative in this situation. But, even King was battling against automation back in those days. So it is something that we should keep on the periphery at all times. But until we become the power, until we put ourselves in that political space, it's going to be hard for us to maneuver anything, right? We got to become the power. That is the key to this whole thing. This whole discussion right here is just beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm empowered by it. I look forward to it. Looking at you all, I'm peering into the future, and I see us dressed up in our suits and our suit. What are those called? The pantsuits for the sisters, right? And being in those political spaces right now and doing our thing as reparationists, being on the floor of the House of Representatives or the floor of Congress and speaking our issues into existence. We have to step up and do that. We have to, family. So I just wanted to get that in. We closing in on 3 hours. I definitely didn't want to or didn't expect to be here, rather, sitting that long. But I mean, this thing was so powerful. I don't mind it one bit. I just want to thank everybody for coming on. Anybody wanted to add? I know Sister Brianna and Brother Devon and Mike, for real, you kind of chopped it up earlier in the you and Zell, y'all took over for a minute. So I would like to give Devon and Sister Brianna some airtime before we get up off of here, and then we'll just run the gambit after that.
Well, I definitely have to give honor to our Sister Brianna, and so it's definitely ladies first over here. So go ahead and jump on.
I need to go first.
Nope, I'm shutting off.
Unmute, sis. You still muted. There you go.
See, Divine, that's a sign that you were supposed to go first. But okay. I just want to first off, Chicago pizza is trash. So we
Oh
can put all
God.
that.
Can't say that on
It's
here, and
so
Logic is about to go crazy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's way too much cheese. The sauce is too much. Like, come on now. Can we just stop?
So
Please?
disrespectful.
Okay.
You don't even know. Well, I wasn't even gonna say that. You don't even know what
Never had,
Chicago pizza is. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what Chicago pizza is, man.
never
Deep
had
dish
your
is
doctor.
just
That's
one
why you saying that.
style. But go ahead. I don't even want to
It
go
makes
there.
my skin crawl just thinking about it. Just no. But thank y'all so much for having us all on here. Like, I definitely hope you already said yes when I said, can we do this once a month? Because, we could go all day. Like, when we get, ADOS, reparationists together, building, like, this is what happens. So thank y'all so much. And thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you.
Honest, sis. I'm glad you were able to come through. Brother Divine.
Yeah, first off, I want to say that's not even a debate. We already know who got the best pizza. My brother Logic is right about a lot of things. And I sit back many a night and listen to him teach.
It ain't
But
one of those
pizza ain't one of
topics?
those
Okay.
topics. You heard me? So
Okay.
that ain't one of the topics. So but I also want to thank you guys for sharing your platform with us. You guys have always shown love to us and this ADOS movement and giving respect while also carving out your own niche. This is something that is definitely needed, is mandatory in this moment. And I just want to give your brothers your props for putting together something so powerful. Real quick, I want to just say something to I think what Dre said about Obama and all the things that he's done. As just so I can speak from my personal experience, as growing up as a New Yorker, during the 90s, and Naheem, I know you probably well aware of this. Like, we got sold that lost tribeness. And so that's one of the reasons why, we get so caught up and we're so, I've heard the term thirsty for this representation. Because we were told that we didn't know where we came from, and we were sold Africa, and not any particular country, just the continent. And so that's why we'll look at the kente cloths, and then go look at a dashiki, and we just trying to identify with all of it, even though none of it is us. And so all Obama did was tap into the political capital that ADOS and our lineage built over the hundreds of years that we've been here. And so just like everybody else in America that comes here and understands the American way of exploiting ADOS and our lineage, he put it on while it was politically beneficial to him, and then he took it off when it wasn't. And that's the same thing Kamala's looking to do, and that's what most of our politicians that are black faces and or ADOS, they do. They put it on when it's convenient and when it's politically beneficial, and they take it off when they no longer need it or no longer need us. And so that's why being a reparationist, being an ADOS reparationist, this is so important, because without us in the gap, all the bullshit that they're trying to have pass would be passable, like Obama was passable back then. There was no reparationist, there was no ADOS movement. So we just took what he gave us at face value and looked at him as if he was us. And then we look at Kamala right now, who tried to do the 2.0, and that's why her own presidential campaign didn't work, because we was here in the gap. Lord have mercy. Look, on cue.
On cue.
I'm glad she put that up. I'm so glad.
Real quick, she went from sister girl, I went to Howard, I'm ski-weeing out here, and now it's not enough to just save our economy. We need to build a system that gives all people, including people of color, a chance to succeed. But in that tweet, she's not talking about how those other people of color came out in large numbers against her and Biden. And so this is the con game that they try to pull on us, where it's like, we'll praise you guys for coming out and voting for us, whether that's good or bad. That's a whole other conversation for another day. But when it comes time to give us something for that vote, now we got to build something for everybody. And so in closing, I don't want to talk too long. I just want to say, just something that I've kind of coined for our lineage is, so by some white people we were sold. I mean, we were stolen. By some Africans we were sold, but our ADOS lineage is one of the greatest stories never fully told. And I'll just end there.
That is a fact. Brother Mike, for real, we're gonna come to you, then we're gonna go to Brother Zell. Any closing statements?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it's gonna be a hard fight, right? It's all about you're gonna try to advance our position, and yet they're still going to not be all for us. Like right now in Georgia, they're trying to get those last 2 Senate seats, right? So it's like, do we show our force now by not voting for those guys in, or we vote them in and try to set ourselves for the next 2 years to set, okay, now you got no excuse? Because the problem with the Obama administration was that their excuse was that we could not get things done because the Republican Party was stopping a lot of policies that was going to help minorities. And that is some truth to that. But once they get the right ducks in a row, they have no excuse. If they get the Senate where Kamala has the last voting power to get policies done in, that helps our cause. So I would say for these 2 years, let's try to get the people in so we could push our policies, our agendas, and hold that as a measuring stick. If they don't fight for us, it's like now we could say, okay, well, listen, we're going to put people in that's for us, whether it be in the Democratic Party or the GOP at the end of the day. If you speak in reparations and black wealth, I don't care which party you for. I say we vote these people in because it's about our power, our black communities, and they cannot hold out on us by bringing in immigrants for other countries and giving them the best jobs, the tech jobs, because I agree with that, brother. A lot of people think that people from India are more qualified for black people right here in America, but that's not true. A lot of people in America, especially from our communities, from our colleges, are qualified, but they still are being discriminated to get these jobs. And once they get a person in leadership from another country, they're going to hire their own people. So we need to keep an eye on that and definitely advocate for our leadership in tech jobs so they can hire our people first. So at the end of the day, it's about strategy. These 2 years, they got to show up. Facts. And if they don't, we got to vote them out.
Before I close, I just want to say, Chicago food is better than any other food y'all gonna find. Gotta set the record straight. But I want everybody to really understand that this fight we're gonna have to go on, especially people my age. We gotta understand we gotta get in this fight early, we gotta get informed, we gotta get in the books, we gotta be ready on all angles. We gotta be multifaceted. We gotta be that. We gotta be better than the next man. We're competing here. It's a competition. And we don't want to lose again. And I implore everybody to open the lines of communication when we're trying to compete for these jobs. Make those white friends, those Indian friends, those Chinese friends, because you're gonna need them. Opening the lines of communication and being able to communicate is important, especially when you're trying to compete for these jobs, because nobody's going to hire somebody they don't know or they feel like they can't trust. So you got to be able to have those conversations. You got to be able to sit at those tables. And we just got to be able to make it to where we know our path is already the hardest, but we got to at least increase our chances. And we do that by being prepared, having our information, and having those connections. So I just want us to keep fighting. We in this together, and we're gonna get reparations eventually.
Facts.
We fighting.
Facts.
Naeem, can I say one thing before we go?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Just one thing to get off my chest. As all these amazing brothers stated, we need to be fighting for reparations full throttle. We all know that. But women, we also need to step up and be advocating for our Black men in all spaces because they're trying to erase our Black men, get rid of our Black men. They're trying to lift us up and leave them behind, and we can't have it. So anyone pushing that gender divide, we need to shut it down 24/7, be on at all times. In addition to our reparations fight, our Black men cannot get left behind, and we cannot sit by complacent and letting them know that we're okay with doing it. Our Black men are one of the biggest part of us. We go together. Whatever we're doing, we're hand in hand. We're a package deal, and we can't forget that. So thank you.
That's right. Thank you for that first and foremost, sis. I wish I had my little machine I wanted to get. I would have hit the applause button. But we're gonna have a discussion on that topic, sister, where we just gonna have the sisters come in and speak to that. So I don't know necessarily. Are we connected on Twitter?
I don't know. I didn't check it.
No, I'm talking about me and the sister.
Oh,
Brianna. Are we connected on Twitter?
Can y'all hear it?
Yeah.
Am I muted?
No, you good now.
Okay. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure we are, but could you give me your Twitter handle just in case?
It's at Real More.
Okay.
It just hit me up or let's connect, and I'm gonna make sure that because we have talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, and we just want to have like a panel of the sisters come on and speak about that very thing that you're talking about. So
okay,
honors for that, sis. Brother Josh, and then we're gonna come to our brother Logic.
Hashtag Black Family Magic.
Facts.
What other hashtags we ran through the show?
Hashtag Obama ain't us.
There you go. Hashtag blame Black men. Hashtag BTP. Hashtag ADOS. Hashtag yeah, I think I said I am reparations. So yeah, that's what I'm on. But I like that. I like that hashtag Obama ain't us or Obama ain't ADOS. I like that. That we need to run that. We need to run that. Yeah. Obama need to get this work. He need to continue to get this work because he's still talking. He's still talking. What you talking for?
Wait, real quick, Dre made an excellent point when he said that this dude is doing more talking to us now out of office than he did in 8 years of being in office.
Man, that's had to help Biden get them votes.
Crazy.
Yeah. But hey, man, that's it for me. That's it for me. Hey, we need to do this once a month. This needs to be a regular thing. I like how everybody can come and bring their own perspective, and not only that, people need to tell their stories. Some people even need to vent sometimes. People just need to get something off their chest, I think we can all learn and grow from all of that. So I love it.
Definitely.
That's it for me, though. Peace, y'all.
All right, definitely. Peace, bro. Brother Logic.
Yes, man. First, I just want to thank all the reparationist correspondents that came on, and everybody don't come on when we send out links, man. I'm glad that we had as many come on tonight that did come on, man, and we appreciate and love every last one of y'all. And this is family. This is a family event when we do this thing, man. And we have to start looking at it like this, right? We all family, right? Whether we differ and disagree at one point, we gotta hash that thing out until we come out with some understanding, right? So and that's how we have to move, and that's the only way we will move forward. And we just got the takeaways. We got to understand that everything in life is political. We have to understand that. And once we stop wrestling with that, It will become easier to know what we have to do. Everything in life is political. And we have to be, one of our problems that we must get rid of, especially in this dire moment right now, is we have to stop being silly about serious things and serious about silly things. You understand? And we must understand that our focus on reparations is our national agenda, but we cannot go to sleep at the politics that matter the most, which is the politics that's in our backyard. We were talking about when we talk about school, the education system, when we talk about the police system, right? The police agencies. And let me hit this before we go. You understand? The defunding the police and this federal call for that is absolute nonsense, because that's not where police get their funding. You understand? The sheriff's department get the funding from the county board. You understand? The city cops get their funding from the city budget, and the state police get their funds from the Office of Management and Budget. You understand? Which that means the funding that they do get from the federal government is all controlled by local and state government. You understand? So if they defund policing, right, on a federal level, the state and the local governments will just impose their own taxes on the people to make up for it. You understand? Because that's where local and state government gets their funding power from, is the taxes of the people. So now we will have to live at the burden of the state to make up for that, because they're not just going to take that hit. You understand? That's why politics is so important. You understand? The only federal policing agency is the U.S. Marshals. You understand? So we have to understand politics, how things work, how this game is played, understand what the right position is before we start getting behind everything that comes out in the national media that we think is something, because they make it sound like something for us. We think it's something good that we should get. They can just throw anything at us, and if it sounds like something, oh yeah, let's get behind that. Know what you're talking about. Know how things work. And then we will understand what is right, not just what sounds right. You understand? And I'll leave you with what I always leave you with. Government is the game and politics is how it's played, man. Get in the game.
Yeah. So we had a good, lively discussion tonight, family. Very pleased with this discussion. Again, want to thank all of our reparationist correspondent guests who have joined us this evening for this great discussion, this chat, if you will. And we're going to be doing this once a month, family. So I look forward to more people coming on and joining in. We might not be able to keep everybody on the whole stream like we did tonight. It might be more of a get in and get out situation, say what you got to say, keep you on for. But tonight, it was pretty cool because we didn't have as many people jump on, but we did have capacity, the capacity that StreamYard allows. So again, honors to my family for coming through. I don't know what we're gonna do for Thursday. We always got a bunch of different ideas for streams, but just look out for a notification tomorrow, and we'll go from there. I'll leave you all with the platform's motto, which is don't just fight the power, become the power, and then and only then will you have the power to make a change. With that, peace.